And we are recording, and we will not be bombing anyone's house. Not that anyone was going to do that, but if anyone's curious, that's not what we're doing today. We're just talking. If anybody gets bombed, it'll be my house. And with that unholy introduction, gentlemen, please introduce yourself. I suppose Aaron first, because alphabetical order. So.
All right, great. Thanks for having us. My name's Aren. I'm one half of the Stranger by the Hour podcast, which due to YouTube's terms and conditions is now only available either on Patreon or Rockfin or clips of it on Instagram or whatever. But yeah, my background, basically, I spent my whole adult life since I was 17 in the military, and retired from the Marine Special Operations community, and then immediately went to work as a contractor doing things related to fifth generational warfare. So information operations, deception, basically anything that used kind of these information related capabilities. So in the process of that work, it kind of that and some other things, kind of woke me up to the fact that all is not as I thought it was. And then I bump into, Cody and I work together in the Marines. And then again, as contractors, we start working together, and we realize that we both kind of feel like things aren't exactly as we were told. And, every kind of the same, the standard truther journey. Hey, let's start looking into this stuff. And then, hey, let's start talking about it. And that's basically my background.
Cody.
All right. Yeah. So, excuse me, just like Aaron, I joined the Marine Corps in 1998. I was an infantry guy first, and then after the invading Iraq, I switched over to explosive ordnance disposal. So I was a bomb guy from 2004 to the end of the career. So I got to MARSOC with Aaron in 2006. We were the same company there, the very first company, Alpha Company, and I stayed at MARSOC from 2006 to 2016, and actually got on the job contracting because of Aaron. It's kind of like the mafia. You send your resume to these places, and they fish it around like, hey, who knows this guy? And another ex-MARSOC guy showed it to Aaron's like, oh yeah, Cody, that guy's legit. Like, yeah, hire that dude. So and then I did that same thing that Aaron's doing now for about 5 years, until I pulled shocks. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I sold everything I had in Wilmington to get half of this 52-acre farm that we're at. Yeah. And I was kind of the same way. I was always a little interested in the narrative from back in the day. I got interested in Von Daniken novels, Ancient Aliens kind of stuff when I was a kid. And so it was always in the back burner in my brain that shit wasn't quite right. Right. And then during the whole COVID thing, Aaron and I got locked in an office together in the building, where we were just basically allowed to commiserate for 8 straight hours a day on the whiteboard, just trying to figure out, okay, what the hell, as military planners, let's use a process here and look at this thing and see if we can't figure out.
Yeah.
Let's assess the problem through a military lens. So we did. And that was the assessments that we came up with. Was like, well, that's all I need to get the hell out of here. So, we started the podcast, and it's been going great. I'm on a 52-acre farm now, looking out over about a 10-acre pasture that Aaron and I both own.
And I'm in an RV right now because I just sold my house. So I'm working my way out of the burbs and out to the farm. So we're in the phase now where I live in an RV with my 8-year-old and my dog. And soon we'll be building a house out there at the farm and doing homesteading full time. So
you guys are like the fully realized version of what I hope to do. I moved up. I was in Maryland for not going to tell the story. Everyone on the podcast knows the story, but I moved up to Maine to get closer to family. And my next move is to get out into the middle of fucking nowhere in New Hampshire. And that is so like, I've interviewed like a ton of people. I don't know why I'm focusing on one of the lights is not working. That's my own OCD, but I just see one light and I'm not just throwing me all off. It's kind of funny though. Like, I interview all these people, and kind of like y'all. I mean, in high school, I would enjoy like a normal high school kid. I read Legacy of Ashes by Tim Weiner about a history of the CIA instead of going to what most people would call the prom. I was reading that, and in college I was pre-med and spent a lot of my time in the afternoons just kind of like burned out on Adderall after studying and just like look into other normal shit like Operation Northwoods or Smedley Butler. And it's just kind of like the
deep cuts.
Yeah, just these little things that just they kind of add up over time. You never set out to do it. And then like I taught myself Photoshop for a couple of years. I was living at home. And I would just listen to audiobooks all day. And it starts you start to notice there are more and more. It's like if you had never seen a puzzle in your life, but you had been collecting puzzle pieces. Like you don't even know you're supposed to put it together, but one day you're kind of like, oh, that one fits. That one fits. And you just again, you don't really think about it. It's like seeing two socks on the floor, put them together and throw them in the drawer. And then after a while, like unintentionally, you start to see this like vague superstructure forming. And you're like, fuck is that? And it's not even like this is good or this is bad. You're just like, what is that? And you start kind of like putting it together and clipping things in. And then you're like, oh no. Like, oh no, this is really, you start realizing you're not putting together Legos, you're putting together like a bear trap and you're in the center of it. And you're like, oh fuck. And then you try to tell someone, you're like, have you ever seen this? You're like, you're fucking conspiracy theorists. And you're like, what?
Yeah, because they haven't seen the pattern emerge because they haven't been looking.
And
it's
then
interesting.
yeah.
One of the things you find out, like, most of the things that actually matter are not concealed. They're concealed inside mythology and rhetoric in that way, but they're not inaccessible. So you can go read Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. It's accessible. You can read that book, right? And then you can take the threads in there and cross-reference them and be like, is this guy, did they really do this? And then you can look into it and you can learn about, the Jekyll Island. You can learn how the financial system actually works. It's accessible. It's hidden behind pro football and the Blue Angels flying over and them traumatizing you every year with 9/11 imagery. It's hidden behind mythology, but it's not actually hidden.
It's actually, it's evil, but I mean, you got to respect the game. Like it's it's not behind a big vault and you're like, there's the answers. No. There is no high value target. It's all just, the puzzle pieces are laying all around you. And like, why would you pick them up when you could be going and getting laid or eating McDonald's? But like, eventually it starts pulling at a string. And it's funny though. So like every other guy I talked to, like God knows how many people I've interviewed, the vast majority of the military guys, either Delta Force or CIA or Air Force or whatever, like 90% are all either from like an RV or a camp. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, huh. The most like elite killers and survivalists I know to a T have all taken to the mountains. And I'm like, that's like all the rich people on the Titanic getting on like the lifeboats. You're like, this isn't, something's fucked. And
well, it came from from my perspective, it came from a culmination of looking at everything. And back in Aaron and I's previous life, you had two reactions to being ambushed. And once you come to this realization that some of these things are being leveled against you, I mean, that's kind of how it feels like. You kind of wake up and you like, oh, I'm just getting shot at like constantly. Yeah. And the two responses you have to an ambush is counter assault. Who's assaulting you, right? Like if they're close to you, you just turn into the fight and just give it all you got, or you break contact. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at a captured military industrial complex, a captured media industrial complex, a captured medical industrial complex. It's
pharma, like, banking, media,
pharma, banking cartels. Like there is no turning
agencies.
Into this and righting the ship, right? So for me, I was like, well, it's time to break contact, and I wanted to do it in such a way that made sense. Like it's not like you're not grabbing your bag of kibble and running off into the woods.
Sure.
I mean, basically, one of the things I kind of look at up here is just building the breakaway civilization. Like there has to be something next. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
So in our discipline, the special operations, like we would do this stuff called advanced AFO, advanced force operations, right? So you're going to send these small specialized units of special operations guys into an environment to set the conditions for a follow-on force, right? So these are guys that have a skill set in, spotting, assessing, recruiting, training, and employing surrogate forces and, the indigenous population. We're going to find out who we can cooperate with in here, and we can start partnerships. We can start building whatever infrastructure is required for whatever comes next or whatever, right?
Safe house location.
Yep, all this kind of stuff. So Cody, like we just, you can't spend 30 years involved in this vocation and then shut it off, right? So we're, we're kind of applying this to instead of just looking at it as like, oh, I'm escaping from this evil system of systems that's trying to crush me, you got to look at it, more positively. Like you want to be doing something, right? So
Yeah.
Cody and his wife have been up there a year now, cracking away at it. So building a network of people out there so that, the COVID thing was a big wake up call for a lot of people. It's like, oh, the rules are changed. It's been great. Like I'm in the burbs. I'm like kind of upper middle class kind of lifestyle going on. Like everything's great. And then the rules started to change. Like, oh, hey, to continue to participate in this stuff, you're going to now be required to give us access to your internal biochemistry or whatever, right? So then you're like, okay, I'm not comfortable with these rules. So how do I set myself up so that I don't have to follow those rules anymore? It's not about, I think people expect military guys to be like, this like red meat right wing response, like, hey, we gotta get the right congressman and the right committees, and it's like, no, that's not the game. The game is, it's like a rip current, right? Like,
Work smarter.
Like you get lifeguard training, right? And they teach you the way to get out of a rip current is not to swim directly back against it. You have to go kind of at an angle outside of it to get out of it, right? And I think that's kind of what we're doing is like, yeah, it's resistance. Yes, it's fighting back, but it's more building and less giving them the energy back that they want,
And really, they'll have to show their hand to exercise the level of force it takes to corral the people that are walking away.
Yes. You're forcing them to. Yeah, I always tell this story when I was little. I had 3 brothers, and we always have to eat Brussels sprouts and shit. And we had this big like dinner table, and when I was like 12, I constructed this thing out of cardboard paper, and I glued it to the bottom of the table so I could take Brussels sprouts and put it under. It's just like a little pocket. And I guess one day my dad discovered it. He was like laying on the ground playing with the dog, and he and my mom started laughing. I was at school, and my dad just put duct tape over the front of it. And then that night we had Brussels sprouts, and they were
like,
waiting.
Oh, compromised.
They were just waiting until finally I made the move, and like I tapped it and just hung my head. Like I instantly knew it was defeat, and they burst out. They didn't give a shit. I was like 12. I thought it was the end of the world. But there is something where like they're not gonna not keep fighting. They've been doing this. There's always been a power elite for millennia, but I mean, really, there has been a sort of continuity of one. Yeah, I think you could roughly say 1913, maybe early 1900s, kind of Smedley, but Gangsters of Capitalism is a great book. Maybe 1880s till like now. Banking, military industrial, media, pharma, intel, communications, erosion of civil liberties, war is peace, and Patriot Act, and just kind of keep going forward, permanent war industry, petrodollar, and they're just consolidate more and more. Those people don't give up.
No.
So all you can really hope to do is make them show their hand more, because you can keep telling people the shit's fucked. No one's going to listen until eventually enough people start to leave that you do see the veil fall off. And, like China saying, everyone stay home. And then once people don't start staying home, they put tanks in front of the banks, start welding people in their homes. You're like, oh, there's the monster. There's the iron fist in the velvet glove. And you're correct. They will have to start to show their hand more, and they don't want to show their hand. So I feel like that's really all anyone can do is sort of force them to drop the mask.
Plus I think, and there's the whole, everyone gets red pilled and then they're black pilled, right? And I think sometimes people, you kind of go through this journey on the getting red pilled thing. And at some point you've got to find a white pill so that you can make, positive action towards something better. But we result of, extended and frequent use of psychedelics or whatever for a while to get kind of that whole blown out perspective. But one of the ways I look at all this is because I got to find a way to make it less negative and more positive, right? So
100%.
All these people that are clearly psychopathic, like behaving in ways that are clearly predatory, and if you buy into all of it, right, a lot of people in the truther community get into this victim consciousness about it, where, the WEF and Klaus Schwab and Davos, they're trying to butt fuck me, and there's nothing
It's
we can do
all
about it. But
over. It's still,
all
yeah.
this shit, right? But what I look at all those people at this point as having been part of the mechanism that woke me up to the fact that I've not been living how I should be living. Like the degree to which I'm being predated against by the banking industry is directly correlated to how much usury and shit I've involved myself in. How much materialism did I require? I got a $600,000 mortgage and I got to drive a $75,000 truck and all of it's loaned to me. And then when you realize that the money's not real, it's all pieces of debt. You don't actually own any of it. You're like, well, okay. There's people that are taking medicine that they don't want to take so they can keep their job so they can stay in a house that they really can't afford. Like that, right? Okay, so all right, so maybe I should be thankful for these grabblers that have set up this financial system that gave me the opportunity to figure out that I don't have a good relationship with money. That's one. Then you take the medical industrial complex. You're like, well, what do I really understand about my health? Like, how much responsibility am I taking for my health, and how much am I giving it away to this system? Alarm bells go off. Hey, the system's corrupt. Now I have to look in and take more responsibility. Okay, the education of my children. Now I'm getting all these warnings from my environment that I can't just drop the little guy off at school and expect him not to come home one day telling him he needs to cut his dick off, right? So now do I need to take more responsibility, right? And then, Cody, get into like the food stuff, like, hey, we don't like what's going on. So what kind of energy and resources is it going to take for us to solve that problem for ourselves? So it's like, you can look at these people as giving you the opportunity to get your shit together.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the food thing is actually a lot easier than people think. I mean, it's how our ancestors lived, and that's really what, coming back up here. It just, you have a lot of time to think, just kind of like walking around the hills, and what you quickly realize is that, like, oh yeah, this is an abundant, infinite system that we live in. I mean, I'm surrounded by a lot of oaks and a lot of pines, but if the people that lived here before me would have planted what we're planting, I planted 10 fruit trees up here already. Like, in the course of the next, 10 years, that's 100 fruit trees that would just be up here dumping food out of the air. We've got 37 chickens right now. I haven't bought eggs and I can't remember when. We're got 7 goats now. And it's funny because Aaron and I got buddies who grew up on farms, and they're like rough and tumble Marine type dudes, and they're like, hey, farming's hard work, right? We're like, well, yeah, so's being a slave, bro. Like, I don't, like, what are you talking about? Like,
it's also, it's like that cheesy fucking quote that I love, though. It's, in terms of dieting, and it's, you can suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret. And it's like, there is like, you just go all the way back to Buddhism. Like, hey man, it's spoiler alert, life is suffering. It's just suffering. You're truly, up until you hit 18 and things are getting better, and then after that you are physically decaying. Like, that's not a black pill. No, you're dying. I have a biology degree. I got into medical school. I got into pharmacy school. I decided not to go because I'm retarded. But like, you are dying. Every part of you is slowly decaying. And you have to just then decide, well, how am I going to go? And in terms of what you're saying about being positive, is I always go back to like this philosophical question of, I mean, truly with anything you're doing, it has to start with this. Are you going to kill yourself? If the answer is no, then start making very long-term goals and understand that the next step is going, doesn't matter what the goal is, the time will pass, and it will pass, because I have no intention of killing myself. Obviously there can be accidents or cancer.
Let's get that out for the NSA, for everybody involved here. Like,
yeah. Right. Very, very long-term goals. And then you have to go, well, and it will be suffering. So once you make, and I can say that because, so like right after I graduated college in 2013, so like spring 2014, my older brother committed suicide. So like, it is something that's very close to me. And for a long time, I thought that's what I was going to do. And I just went full black pill, just gained weight. I mean, I looked like Jack Black, dude, like long, greasy hair, fat as fuck, just every drug I could get my hands on, and was like, this is going nowhere very, 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 very fast. And that's when I moved home, kind of got my shit back together over the course of several years. But it is going to be suffering. And eventually I realized, like, okay, I think it was the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, that book. And there was a quote in it, and it's like, things that can happen to you aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility. Someone leaves a baby on your front door. That's not your fault. But it is your responsibility now. Now, I think he says you can feed it to a bulldog or you can bring it to a police station, but you got to make a choice now. And that really dawned on me. I was like, it's not my fault my brother killed himself, but it's now in my court. Do with that what you will. And I was like, all right. So
and that's kind of lends to like the Stoic philosophy a little bit, where you're going to inure yourself to hardship purposefully, right, with the understanding that you're not always going to be comfortable. When you're talking about suffering, I used to work at I was an instructor at the Marine Corps Scout Sniper basic course, right? So the regular sniper school that the infantry Marines go to. And it's a pretty brutal, physically demanding, and it's kind of a lot of like, hey, you got to prove you're like tough guy enough to be here type of shit. So there's a lot of these like stupid human tricks, like physical trials these guys got to do. And they had this big log that they would, it would take several guys to carry the thing. And wood burned into it. It said, today holds for you only pain and the promise of more pain. And then on the other side it said suffer in big letters, right? And that was a constant thing. Like we were like the mindset was, this is only going to suck today. It's going to, some parts will be worse than others, but it's going to, from the time it starts to the time it ends, it's going to suck. It's how you act within that. That's what we're observing. We don't care. Like there's no complaints that are going to be heard. There's no softening of any of this. It's going to suck the entire time. We're watching like what you do within that. And that's kind of a good, like, if you can adopt that philosophy in your life, and, you don't want to walk around like, oh, everything sucks, but it's like, it's with the understanding of like, no matter what happens today, the real trial is how I act, within that. And that goes all the way out into like the meta situation we're in dealing with these psychopaths, I think.
Yeah. Can you transmute that suffering into positivity, right? Like, yeah.
It's I'm glad you brought that up. So again, because I'm a pussy suburban kid, I was never in the military, but I was in a fraternity in a deep South racist school, and I did go through pledgeship back when they could still fucking, if the paddles are over there, they could still just beat the shit out of you and make you drink hand sanitizer and horseradish and run until you puke. Which in hindsight, none of it makes sense, and I realize it doesn't matter. But like they lie to you and lie to you and lie to you, and you start with like 50 guys, and it goes down to 40 and 30, and it goes over like the course of like 4 months, right? And everyone else is enjoying their first semester of college, and you're just like, what am I doing? I'm like a slave. I'm just driving these brothers around. They're fucking all the sorority girls. I'm sober waiting outside. I've barely slept in a month. My grades suck, but you just keep going. And the entire thing is about, they're always trying to catch you to like fuck your fellow pledge brother, oh, it wasn't your fault, right, Tommy? No, I was there. I picked up the brother, but Bob wasn't there. Like, yeah. And then they'll haze Bob. And the entire point is as this goes on, you realize that there's never any reward for throw your pledge brother under the bus, throw your P bro under the bus. And it starts to, through just nonstop. It doesn't matter how much you study for the test. You can memorize. Clinical OCD would just like memorize like the fucking 3 pages we had to know. And I can just now write it down. Well, you now have 10 seconds to write it down. And like a jackass, I'd be like, that's not enough time to write it, thinking that they gave a shit. Right. And they would just like write it faster. And you're like, what the fuck? And then like you just keep fighting and fighting and fighting. There's never any winning. And then you realize that the only win you have is to, no matter what, have your buddies back. Even if he fucked up, you go, no, that was my fault, because it's you versus them and you fucking hate them. And then like towards the end of the semester, they're like, none of you guys are going to get initiated. And you don't even give a shit anymore because you'll do anything for your bros.
Which is hugely important in that environment, because a lot of you guys are going to go on to be like throwing prostitutes off roofs of bank buildings in Manhattan and shit. So you got to know.
Oh no, we weren't at an SEC school. That was I went to Valdosta for my first year. Okay. No, I went to a bumblefuck school in the middle of nowhere. I transferred.
So probably just lynchings and stuff then.
Lynchings. Well, I mean, the fraternity next to us did kidnap an alligator from a zoo and behead it. So that was wild. But like,
that's fucked up.
It's super fucked up. Yeah, I remember, dude. I was literally living at the frat house, and like I do remember. Side note, like game warden came to our house one morning. He's like, "Can I come in?" And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I was just studying, and he was like, "Can I like look in the bathtub?" And I was like, "Okay." And then we had a pool. We were in Southern Georgia, and like he was like, "I'm just gonna check out the pool." And I was like, "Go wild, man!" Like he's like, I couldn't get a warrant, and I was like, "You don't need I have a test. Go wild." And he finally kept walking around. He's like, "You haven't seen an alligator, have you?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yes." And we later found out years later that but point is this, is no, at the big SEC schools, those guys, yeah, no, they're probably beheading hookers and yeah, burning their bodies at like the headquarters of Goldman Sachs. I never got to do any of that. It sounds fun, but I never did any of that. I went to an old boys school network where it was just a bunch of rednecks doing redneck shit. Like,
Well, fraternities get demonized, and I've definitely talked my share of shit because
oh, they're all
Cody
faggots.
eventually sold us out and became an officer, but most of the time, so
I
we
think
were
Cody.
enlisted guys, and we talk shit about the officers all the time. But a fraternity, really though, we should have fraternal organization. We should have honor culture organizations comprised of men that have a fraternal bond that they can take out. This is important. Like the part of the reason our Western civilization is crumbling is because we've given that up. We've switched the polarity on their little fucking battery from the male to the female energy, and it's like they've decided that we're going to be terrorized with this like feminine energy right now, but not the divine feminine, not properly constituted feminine energy, but like feminine energy run amok and supercharged with like insanity.
No,
So
not
I've switched my opinion, like more fraternities, more hazing.
yeah, no, the big schools, like those things were all, there's like 500 guys, no one knows each other. It's all just money. I went to like a little kind of animal house. There was like 30 guys in it. That was fun, and I genuinely appreciate like the lessons I learned from it. But
are you still networked in with any of those guys, or?
I've got a couple of, I mean, no, I transferred out of that school in 2011, went and did 2 more years. So it's been 12 years since I mean, there's like 3 or 4 guys I keep in touch with, and like, but there is a lesson from it. And the lesson I learned is that sometimes you can't fix the, like, studying organic chemistry, you can fix it. You can study harder. And I got like a 99, and I think the class average was like a 55. I ruined a lot of people's like senior year. They had to retake. I didn't give a shit. I'm going to get into medical school. Go eat a dick. I don't give a shit. I got a 95% on the MCAT. I don't care. But that's different, right? You can diet. You can lose weight. You can get sober. You can stop doing benzos and stop taking fucking whatever. But something like being a pledge, there is no winning. And it's only in hindsight, when you become a brother and then you're hazing pledges, that you realize you cannot fix the thing. You can't win the thing. You can't win the training. How do you act in that adversity? And it completely changes your mind. So I now think, because right after college, I did experiment with mushrooms and LSD, a fucking ton of it for, on 5 occasions. But I mean, really went out there. And that's when it started to dawn on me, like, after this life, if we go on to become some spirits or some higher realm of angels or demons or gods or whatever, I can only imagine them looking at Earth, smiling and kind of laughing that these dipshits think they can fix it. And not because it's black-pilled, but because this is a training ground. It is pledgeship. And it's supposed to be, there is no winning. You're never going to fix it all. How do you act in that adversity? And you go,
That's
oh,
it. Well,
it's, yeah.
Have you are you familiar with Tikkun Olam?
No.
So Tikkun Olam is a Talmudic. It's from the Jewish faith, but it's the idea that you must fix the world. So like in the Christian mythology, it's man is fallen, the world is a fallen place.
Christ,
it's about being Christ-like, so that you can. This Tikkun Olam thing is, you can see the tendrils of it, and Cody and I fall into this all the time, where it's like the things that we say are going to sound anti-Semitic to somebody who doesn't understand what that word means, right? But I'm talking about a concept, this Tikkun Olam thing, and you can see these people, they're meddling constantly, right? And you got a biology degree and got into med school, so I don't know, maybe you'd be interested to talk about this, but like, this is not from a specific religious perspective, but we are now seeing the scientific worldview. I call them the scientismos, the lab coat priests. Their worldview, the dominant metaphysical orientation on the planet right now is the mechanistic empiricist worldview.
Scientific
even people
materialism.
that's it, material. Even people that identify as Christians, like they go to the mega church where there's like a guy in skinny jeans playing
Joel
fucking Creed
Osteen,
songs and shit. Right?
Botox
flying
in his
around on a
mouth.
fucking oh that shit. Those people are the same ones that, because they are so invested in this scientific worldview, they're like right first in line. Give me my Fauci ouchie. You know what I mean? Right from church.
I got my booster.
Right out of the church down to the jab clinic. And it's like, how did this happen? Like what is going on? You know?
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because I would really agree with you that this is some sort of a test we're running here, right? And looking through occult symbolism, there's a lot of things that kind of show you that, like the unfinished pyramid, right? Like people think there's always like some sort of capstone on that thing. It's like, well, no, not really. I mean, the symbolism is that your works will never be finished in this life. So no matter how perfect you make that pyramid, you'll never finish it, right? And sort of like one of the new philosophical or like pseudo religious ways of thinking is like everybody here is God, right? Which sure, okay, we can run with
Godhead,
that.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. But the question would then be, if that's the case, then it would make sense to me that the creator is seeing how much more you can be trusted with, like the next time around, right? Like if you're in this test and you got a shirt on that says I can't even, and this is like this shit is knocking you out of the park, man.
You
like,
ain't God material.
You ain't God material. Like, how can you be the benevolent creator of another thing?
You ain't
like,
getting into Delta Force.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Like, how can I trust you?
Yeah,
to not be
I think
Satan
that's it.
when I give you your realm. Like, how can I trust you to be a benevolent, whimsical creator?
And then there are some like meta themes to that though, and it's
yeah,
and you don't even know it's a test, because if you know it's a test, that's different, because now you're like, I'm being tested. It's when you don't even know it's a test. What do the idea of why do we have free will? Well, God could create any marionette that loves him. That would be as meaningless to him as creating an entire galaxy. It's God. It's done. You create an actual conscious creature. What does it do? Some of them are evil. Fuck, all right. Some of them against, everything except you have now, can God create a rock so heavy that even God can't lift? I don't know, what's the sound of one hand clapping, but it's God creates these conscious free will beings. What do? And then you add another layer to it. They don't even know they're being tested. So then you come to this realization that we are being tested. We'll never win this thing. And that doesn't mean be black-pilled. Oh, it's all a test. It's fucked. It doesn't matter. Every day I go to the gym. Every day I listen to audiobooks. Last year I did 385 podcasts. The year before, I think I did 365. My goal this year is to do 386. Is there a finish line? Absolutely fucking not. But I will always try to do more. I did 85 push-ups today. In February, I will do 90 a day. I'm going to keep going. There's no finish line, but the act of continually going, of trying to listen to audio, I get a kick out of seeing how fast I can listen to audiobooks. And right now I'm at 2x speed. I hope to get to 2.1. Keep going and going and going and going. And once you kind of get the money squared away and, the podcast is working, take it one step further. Well, what can I do to help people with mental health? What can I, blah, blah, blah. It's, you continually try to sharpen the spear. Where's the finish line? There isn't one. Is it a test? There's like a meta. I don't even care if it's a test. Fuck everything. I'm going to try to do the right thing. And because that's the biggest middle finger I can give a universe that seems to be hell-bent on crushing us with a bunch of satanic pedophiles running the world. There's something deeply funny to me about looking at how fucked the whole system is and then still bringing ramen noodle to the homeless shelter.
This shit is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
I'm glad you have
fucking hilarious.
That's what's missing in a lot of this shit is like, and it is funny. Like,
it's so
like, yeah,
funny.
okay,
It's
of
so
course,
funny.
of course, Joe Biden is some sort of like demon, right?
Sure.
However, it's like the dude is sniffing kids, and it's right. It's hilarious, right? You have to be able to laugh at that. Or like when that Fetterman guy won, right? Like, who cares? Like, you got to be totally out of the left-right politics, right? So
Sure.
you get out of that, and then that, like, once you're out of that frees you up so that you can root for, you're like,
whoever.
Please let that Shrek guy that can't talk win. Like, please let that guy win. Like,
make that dude the Democratic fucking president.
That's the best
nominee,
possible
man.
outcome. Like, novelty. It's like you once you can enjoy the novelty, and yeah, every once in a while I would be lying if every once in a while I'm like, oh fuck, we're definitely all gonna die next month or whatever, but
Oh,
usually
daily.
passes pretty quick, and
No, no, that's my daily. That's my daily cycle of just waking up, going, it's all over. I should just jump out of this building to optimism, to like love and beauty, and like just doesn't matter how fucked the world is. Like it's sunny, it's a blue sky, my car works. Like there
yeah.
is love and beauty. And then, I imagine a couple hours after this podcast, I'll be like, I think the fall would kill me if I just hopped out of the window. I'm like, no, because my mom would be sad. And then you just kind of you just
Yeah, and
surf the nihilism.
the assholes win if you do that, right? Like,
Well, that's the other thing is
yeah,
you die, it ends. We're all fucked. None of us get out of it. Again, there's something deeply funny to me about like not even in some like, stay strong, but like building a sandcastle, but seeing a tsunami so big it's blotting out the sun, but still being like, hold on, I'm putting the finishing touches on it.
I could put shells on the roof and they'll look like
Yes, and put a
tiles.
little stick on there and there's a flag, and I'll build a moat, even though that tsunami is tall enough to destroy the Empire State Building. Let me just carve that perfectly, because that really is all that life is. Like
Dude, I have a pretty good memory. Like if I can concentrate, like, regular memory most of the time, but I can get in this state through kind of meditation where I can really go back into my life and narrow in on a specific event, and then really concentrate on all the details and kind of re-experience it. And sometimes I'm doing that, and it'll just kind of go where my mind takes me or whatever, but I'll be able to see myself running around like 10 years ago, doing whatever it was I cared about then. And it usually had to do with like chasing some girl around or something like that. And like how much, and I can really re-experience how important I thought it was. Or like I used to be into Audis, like I was into cars and shit. And it would be like something very specific. I was kind of get done with a very specific sports car or whatever. And it was like, besides work, it was like all I cared about for months. And then now looking back, I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, look at you, dude. You're like a little, like something is taken over your mind and you're running around. Like I could see with the benefit of hindsight that like I was executing a bunch of weird programming, you know what I mean? And so sometimes when I'll be able to keep that in mind when I'm dealing with somebody, I'm like, oh, this person's just running a script. They're in there somewhere, but that's not who I'm interacting with. I'm interacting with somebody that's been wound up and fucking aimed at me or something,
You're dealing with like a super shit-faced friend who is a good person, but you're not dealing with them. I just want to go fight them. You're like, I know. Like, get in the car though. I'm taking you. I'm gonna get back with her. I bet you are, but we're gonna go home now. There's no dealing with them. I gotta. When the kid's like, I'm a dinosaur. You're like, yes, you are, but you gotta go to bed now. Like, just you roll. But what's kind of crazy though is then you think, all right, well, what about you from 30 years from now? Like, what are they looking back at you now? Oh man, those guys are all talking about surviving and moving. I want to move into the woods. You guys are up on a farm. I was so obsessed with that. And that's what I think is like one thing that always gets me is like, what do you do if everything went well? What if all the corruption stopped today? Every politician tripped dick on mushrooms. We just stopped the war, started building a better society. I mean, truly just like the most utopian thing ever.
Well, you'd get the Stanford mouse experiment or whatever that was, where the Milgram, was it the Milgram experiment?
Well, the Milgrams when they force you to kill the guy with electricity.
Okay, not that one, but they had one where they gave mice every possible.
Oh, the mouse utopia.
Mouse utopia. That's what happens is everyone gets murderously gay and it all degenerates into hell.
Well, let's say we even fix that glitch and it was just even better. Just whatever it would be, just fucking like anti-gravity shit flying around and cancer, and we get rid of depression. Let's say you cure it all and life goes to 500 years, 1,000 years. We're traveling amongst. Okay, then what?
I think
the universe eventually the universe undergoes heat death in 100 trillion years. And it's so even the best case scenario, nothing wins. So just act with that. It's all over. Act accordingly.
I think if you were to take away all the governing of the governors, right? Like the society has like a governor on it. One of the simplest answers is it would be to, pursue excellence and beauty in the time that you're given, right? Like, and I think our ancestors understood eternity. You know, if you look at some of these stone structures, I mean, they didn't, there may be technolithic reasons why they built it, in which we can go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. But one of the things that they did seem to understand is that the only thing that was going to last that long was those particular materials, right? Like granite. And so why would they do that? Like, unless they had some sort of inkling that, you know, this is an iterative existence, you know. So I think if you were to give me $1 billion and just to get rid of all the governors, I mean, that would be the trajectory of life. As I would, you know,
Make
like you said, with the push-ups and everything else, I would attempt to find that thing. Everybody's a savant at something, right? Like, I would find your savant thing and just use that as like a grateful prayer back to whatever the creator is. It's like, you gave me this chance.
Yeah.
I found this thing that you also, or I also have, however it works out. And so out of gratitude, I'm going to perfect that and give it away. You know, I'm going to leave it for them to see what, because when I look at an ancient Hindu or whoever the fuck built it, like in India, because I almost like India more than Egypt. You know, you look at those things and it's a high watermark. You know, it's like, man, like we're capable of that. Like, look at that fucking thing. You know, like it's
crazy,
it's inspiring.
DMT
It's
art.
Like, yeah, it's like, holy shit, somebody made that. Like, well, what am I doing today? You know, I need to leave something like that for the people that come behind me, so they know what they're capable of. Like, I'm talking about carving into the rocks around here. I got this from a Hindu temple. There's snakes, but when you trace out the snakes, they create very intricate knots that if you recreate with string, it shows you this is this knot, this is that knot.
Oh shit.
So it's a knowledge transfer into eternity, you know. It's so that like Aren's son won't ever have to go through what we went through, and then his son won't have to go through what he went through, you know. And it's like, I mean, that's my take on it.
Like what that thing you're describing is something that we have pruned out of our culture. So in the West, at least, right? Like, we don't have a facilitated passage into manhood. You know, we have our various disparate religious traditions, but at this point, they've in to a large degree been compromised. You know, like there's not a you know, we're born into like whatever worldview our parents have, and then we're put in these schools, which are just government indoctrination. You know, how could you possibly have a broader like view about, you know, everything from, you know, your body to cosmology when you're just getting bombarded with lies and programming until the point where you realize that you're being lied to, and then you work on unraveling it. But like, yeah, like what you're talking about is you could, you know, the benefit to all this stuff that seems to be collapsing, like, hard to say the timeline, but it's kind of, I think most people agree that, you know, the wheels are coming off this thing, right? So, you know, what do you look to next when we replace these systems? Are we going to replace them with something that gives us a more comprehensive view, you know? And of course, there's nothing stopping any of us from doing that in our lives, but I'm just, if there's to be any like hope for our culture, you know, people seem to want the like technocracy though, and the dystopian. They like it. Like, they won't, like, you think people are just going to reject outright. Like, I talk to people at work, like, about like the Neuralink and stuff, you know, and it's like, there, some people are like, yeah, I mean, if you want to be competitive in the future, you're going to need one of those things. And it's like, oh, Jesus, man.
But those are the same people that post live updates to Facebook about playing Farmville. Like, stop. You don't try to teach a dog calculus. You just nod and walk away. Like, whatever technocratic dystopia is coming is like, I did an episode with Matthias Desmet, the guy who coined the term mass formation psychosis.
Oh, cool.
And then here's my biggest episode I ever did. It was right after Dr. Malone went on Joe Rogan. I had him, Dr. McCullough, and Dr. Desmet all on together.
Damn, man, nice.
That video is responsible for like 90% of my views and subscribers. It is truly the only. It is my pyramid. It is my car. It is all I leave behind. But and then had him on a couple months later and talked about, do people even want to be free? And that's kind of like what it's dawning on me now is I think I'm like, I got banned from YouTube for interviewing McCullough and Malone, and I think I'm on here like fighting the good fight. And personally, I do. I just, free speech, just fuck off. I would rather be dead. It's just a personal thing. But like, then there's also just this like, I'm like, well, people got to know, like, this is a form of like of biochemical slavery, and then they become the digital IDs and the digital currency, and it's top down control and blah blah blah. And I used to think like no one understood this, and now it's starting to dawn on me that I think they do. And not only do they not care, they're like, yeah, it's nice, and I'm like, uh, oh, if I wanted to fall in line, I would have just taken my medical school acceptance, got a white coat, and shut the fuck up. I'm the idiot that was like, let's trip dick on acid the day I graduate, realize I don't want to be a doctor, go on just a binge of psychedelics and drug abuse for several years, weave through it all, start a podcast at age 30 while living above my parents' garage, working at a liquor store, and then somehow turn that into an income source and move out. Like, oh, I am clearly not okay with just going along the path I think most people are. And I'm not even shitting on that. But it's me trying to convince someone else that blue is the best color. And they're like, no, I've seen blue before. I prefer green. And I'm
Well, I
like,
think people
oh,
deep down, they understand that that freedom is actually responsibility. So, and you're in the responsibility part. Like, okay, if I want to move out of my parents' house, I got to make this podcast thing work, right? I'm not
yeah.
part of any kind of system. Had you become a doctor, the rest of your life and economics and all that stuff's mapped out. You're good. You're a made man. So
Yep.
you took responsibility. A lot of people, even if they wouldn't elucidate that, they don't know it consciously, but they can tell, oh, fuck, if I'm not part of that system, then I got to do for me what they're doing for me right now. And I don't know, people are pretty weak.
I think that's a thing with truth that a lot of people have a problem with is the implications of truth, right? Like
Correct.
if you don't look, then there are no implications. It's, you get spoon fed the narrative and you try to find a piece of that narrative that gives you a comfortable lifestyle. And, but when you start looking at the implications of things, it gets dark super quick, man. And it sounds like you've got like a Jungian hero archetype in there, man, because you didn't go down that road.
But, and that's kind of the thing. And Terrence McKenna had a great quote. He goes, the problem isn't finding the answer, it's facing the answer. And like, so all I did in college was study. I was a retard my freshman year, almost got expelled, but like all I did was study after that, just day in, day out, stop drinking, stop smoking pot. All I did was study to get into medical school, brought my GPA up, aced everything, blah, blah, blah. And went to the #1 party school in the nation, University of Georgia, and went to like one football game, like never really enjoyed any of it. And I remember the day I took the MCAT and I knew I fucking crushed it. And I came back and I had to do an extra semester because I fucked off so much my freshman year. But I came back and it was like May or June 2013. And I took that test and I came back to the apartment, but all my friends had graduated about 3 weeks prior. And I had one extra semester to do. So obviously I'm still there. And I came back and was like, I'm finished. I crossed the finish line. And like no one was even there. And I just remember standing there and I just had this like almost psychedelic zap of like, you're gonna experience this again on your deathbed. What do you want to feel? And I was standing there like,
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
I was like, I just spent 3 years just righting the ship, just changing literally a meathead retard frat boy to like fucking presenting toxicology research. And I was like, oh no. Like I got to the summit of the mountain and realized I went to the wrong mountain and was like, oh fuck. And like, and then that came, well, there's truth. Truth is now staring you in the eyes. What do you want to do with, and I should back up. So 3 years prior, I was in the frat house and I got way too fucking high one night and realized that college ends. And even though it's 3 years away, one day I'm going to be out on my own. Do I want to keep partying with my head in the sand, or do I want to make sure that I'm set when time comes to graduate, have a job that makes me set for life, right? So I had already had that realization, and now I'm having it again going, oh, fuck. So do we stare at truth? Do we put our head in the sand, or do we walk towards it? And I was like, well, I can no longer unsee the truth. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So most people are like, well, when you take psychedelics, you got to be in a good set and setting. I was like, fuck that. Let's just throw acid on the fire. So like literally took acid for the first time, like out in the woods, and was like, you don't want to be a doctor. I don't know what you want to do, but you don't want to be a doctor. And I was like, okay. So I sent like a thank you, but no thank you letter. 15,000 people applied to this medical school. 100 got in. I was one of them. And I was like, thank you, but no thank you. And so now I'm filled, this is like spring 2014. Now I'm filled with like I'm at the bottom of a new mountain. I don't even know what I want to do. Feeling a little cocky. I'm like, I got into fucking medical school. I can do anything. And like a week later, my brother kills himself. And I was like, well, that's a new wrench, a new wrench in the system. And that took like 5 years of just unimaginable suffering. And then starting this podcast. And the point I'm getting at with all of this rant is what Cody said about you can ignore truth or you can accept the naked answer for what it is. And the more you observe it and meditate on it, you realize the answer is not out to hate you or love you. It's not out to help you or hurt you. It just is. No, gravity is here. Gravity doesn't give a shit. I can drop the water bottle. I can fall and break my nose. It just is. And it's apathetic. So look at the truth. It's not there to hurt you or help you. Do with it what you will. And I was like, okay, you can't party like an idiot. And then 3 years later, I realized like, you also can't work nonstop. And then several years after that, I was like, my brother took his life, but it could have just as easily been hit by a bus. Death is death. A funeral's the same. And that could have just as easily been me. So what will you do with that? And that's kind of completely liberated me, is stare into truth, stare into the jaws of it, and then just act accordingly. And it's an insane amount of pain. But you can go through the pain of, I live in suburbia. Everything's mapped out. I have a job and a 401k and I have dental, but you are still getting the pain of deep down inside. You're like, what am I doing? I'm just watching Netflix and going to the bar on Friday. The pain is the fucking same no matter what. So just, I don't know, choose the one you want more. I don't know what the purpose of that rant was, but
well, we're talking about the truth, and that's what you put in jeopardy for a lot of people when you start trying to tell people the truth that don't want you to. What you're attacking is like the foundation, like when you tell them, hey, there's no way that 2 aluminum planes cost 3 fucking buildings to crash. It's the implications of that they can't deal with. When you're like, nah, dude, Freemasons didn't fucking drive dune buggies and hit golf balls on the moon, player. Let me tell you what's up. Let me tell you about who Von Braun is or whatever. People, what you're doing is you're knocking out their fucking pedestal they're standing on. And I've learned that it's great for people that are receptive, but when people don't want it, don't try to put it
they'll
on.
attack you. They'll bite you right in the fucking neck. They'll chop your dick off.
Well, I mean, you talk to a ton of people. I'm always kind of on the fence of where I see this thing going. You always hear about like the Great Awakening and everything. And as I could be in my own echo chamber, but as I'm just scrolling through various things that I look through on social, you do see down in the comments, some hilarious shit that people say nowadays that clearly shows that there's some sort of awakening happening, right? But being an ex-military guy, I look at things like key terrain, right? Like we would say you have to seize key terrain for a battle to be effective, or for a battle to be won, right? And that could be used across multiple different like key terrain is not exactly just terrain. You can look at people as key terrain. Like you can look at media, all these different things, and like I just haven't seen the key terrain seized by anybody that's like trustworthy, right? Like we can all have this great awakening, but it's like there needs to, you then need to see like key terrain be seized by individuals that you at least assess are not compromised. Like how do you like what's your pinky toe in the water telling you these days?
So, well, what you just said, the comments are here. Well, here's another thing is like I have YouTube Premium because I'm a cuck and I'm still paying the great Satan. But like,
oh yeah, me too. Don't
I've had it for. You got to download download your documentaries. How am I going to fucking listen to a NORAD documentary if I can't download it? The internet's not ubiquitous. And when I'm out in the middle of the woods at my parents' house, I need to learn about Cheyenne Mountain. That's just what it is. Kill me. Little things like that, though, I've just noticed over the years, like it's getting worse. It glitches. It's not getting better. You go into the comments, you look at things and people are like, I hope this comment isn't deleted, but like that guy that died suddenly got the, and then they like use some weird cryptic like emoji to spell vax or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Hobo code.
Yeah. You do all these weird things and then it gets squashed and you go, well, no one's awakening. It's all alone. And then, you get banned from YouTube and you're like, fuck these people. But then the more and more people you talk to, the more and more people I interview, you know, like a Dr. Malone, the first time I had him on, it was all about like the cell wall and phospholipid bilators and mRNA replication. A year later, he's like, did you know that like Nelson Aldrich took a bunch of rich guys out to like Jekyll Island in 1913? And you're like, hey, you know, Dr. McCullough starts with like, well, the cardiac wall is very delicate. A year and a half later, he's like, so there's this guy, Smedley Butler, and apparently the DuPonts told him to take 300,000 World War I soldiers. And I'm like, there we go. And it's like,
Yep.
you know, I have my mom who goes from like watching Fox News to her saying like, you know, I don't think COVID's the first case of corruption. I think we're just starting to see it now, and it's probably been going on forever. And I'm like, all right,
Bingo.
well, so then you have to go, well, how come more people aren't seeing this? And I always go back to like the Nazis, right? And the Nazis looked like a monolith up until the end. They're just still fighting, hanging out in the Fuhrer bunker. But we now know in hindsight that they started taking steps to betray each other. And this is a long way to answer your question, Cody, but I'm getting to it. They started betraying each other years prior. You know, not just von Braun, but Arthur Rudolph, Otto Ambrose, Kurt Bloma, Walter Schreiber. They all started taking documents from their bio research, chemical research, rocket schematics, and just burying them out on the farm because they knew it was not going well. Years down the road, they would use those for bartering trips. Hey, don't hang me at Nuremberg. I'll help you with the guidance system. But we don't see that. We see them as a monolith up until the very end. And even what was Hitler's last thing? The Nero Decree. Burn everything. Burn down every telephone pole, light the rubber on fire, give them nothing. And it's not until decades later that we go, oh, that shit was crumbling from the inside. But it looks the same. It's like a fire. All the logs are there burning. And then all of a sudden, and it all falls. And you're like, you know, the sparks go up and you're like, what the fuck was that? What had been happening for a long time? And I think that one of the most like perfect examples of that are the comments. Just before they get iced, you'll see it on Facebook. You'll see all like the bullshit comments boosted to the top. And then you'll just see something random. It'll be like Tower 7 fell at free fall speed. You're like, what was that? You know, you slide in there and you're like, anybody read like Project for a New American Century? And just these little, but then you'll see them like before they get deleted and they'll have like 1,000 likes and then they'll get iced. And you're like, oh, something's going on. Like everyone knows,
dam might be breaking. That'd be nice.
We don't see it. We see the monolith. And so kind of like ear on the ground, I think so like the Nazis, the people in charge are never going to be like, yeah, no one believes this narrative anymore. They're going to delete every comment. They're going to artificially boost every view. Think of how easy it is to boost it. It says, you know, a Jimmy Fallon video has 1,000 views. They just change the K to an M and you don't see it. You're just on your phone and you go, 1 million people are watching. No, they're not. They changed it from a digital K for 1,000 to a digital M. That has massive power. I think the whole fucking thing is just termites going through it all, but not in a bad way, in people waking up. And so I don't think it's all fuck. I really don't. Now, key terrain, that's a different story. I don't know. I'm not sure where I stand with Elon Musk, but there is one thing. They're definitely not on board with like the Twitter files. So like that is a case of something happening. Again, I don't know what. Maybe he's controlled. I don't fucking know. I am still deeply optimistic, despite talking about how we're all just going to fucking die in the heat death of the universe. Despite all of that, I really am still deeply optimistic just because every century of humanity for the last 10,000 years has been so inexplicably worse than what it is right now. And by virtue of the fact that we're here talking, we got through it. I mean, Kennedy got domed a year after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we're still here. Like, so
yeah, that is a good point.
Positive.
For as bad as things are, they did like murder the president of the United States.
They blew his head off,
and then the country just and then the country got richer. So it's like, wow.
Yep.
Hey, you guys keep talking. I got someone coming to the house to buy furniture, so I'm gonna have to leave off. So, but thanks, Tommy, for having me. I really appreciate it, and
Oh,
great
absolutely, dude.
conversation.
Thanks for
Do it
coming
again
on, man.
sometime.
I'd
Yeah.
absolutely love to have you on
You
again.
You guys keep at it. I just gotta go.
All right,
The,
we're gonna talk
the
shit.
troubles of escaping the system.
Yeah. No, he
All right, later. Bye.
later, buddy. Aaron's about to get murdered. Somebody's coming about to blow his fucking head off. It's Dale. But yeah, no, that's my answer to you. Is my gut says there is an awakening going on. I can't.
Well, also in a
quantify it.
way, I figure like there kind of has to be. I mean, looking at what can probably only be described as like a Luciferian control system, right? Like it's
Yeah, I mean, just pedophile demons. That's what it is.
right. You sit around, and you just kind of like stare off into space, and I like doing the mind games of like, okay, well, where does this actually go? Like outside of complete technocratic, like brain chipped enslavement, like, that can't last. It's at least in my assessment, like it, the reason why they have to pull off so much of this shit in secrecy, because were you to give the people the option, like, well, hey, check it out. You'll have universal basic income, but you'll basically be like a hamster on a wheel in your apartment, right? Like you'll do your thing, and we'll register that happened through your, bioelectrical surveillance device. And then you'll receive your UBI, you're like a walking Bitcoin generator or some point like that. At a certain point, you would think that would have to collapse, right? So I mean, I guess that does give me hope when I'm analyzing it, if that made any sense at all.
No, it does. I also think that there are just higher orders to think. Howard Bloom has a great book called Global Brain, and it's about how like all the pieces of a system can never understand the identity of the entire system. So like
it's compartmentalization.
Yeah. Well, not even secrecy, but just like the actual, like a computer can never understand its exact design. It's the philosophical idea of you can never understand something meta to you, which I think meta technically means like equal to you. So like the human brain could never fully understand how the human brain creates consciousness. We could understand everything just below us. With enough research, we could understand a dog's brain. But in order to understand our own brain, there would have to be something higher than us. Yeah. And by default, that higher thing is now not understanding. It's understanding us. When it goes to understand itself, it can't. So Howard Bloom talks about like a piece of like charcoal, and like every atom and every molecule inside of it acting in unison in electrostatic, weak nuclear, strong nuclear forces. But then there's a behavior of a flame that the charcoal cannot possibly understand. And there's a higher order to that. So like whatever it is that all 8 billion of us are doing, even though most people are kind of brain dead, there are positive and negative feedback systems, right? The whole biosphere, like no algae is thinking now it's time to reproduce. We just see times in like cycles, and we look in like ice layers, and we're like, oh, when there was more carbon there and there was less fucking nitrogen, these algae off the coast of Ireland did this. Yeah. And a strong enough supercomputer can understand that it's just this perfect flowing of symbiosis, but no one thing inside of it can understand it. And then we get all cocky and we go, well, clearly we're understanding it. Okay,
sure.
Well, now there's one above us looking down at us that we don't understand. So I think that something's going to happen that by definition, and this is kind of a bullshit answer, but it's by definition, we can't know because we can't understand. Like we see things like the iPhone and we go, well, the new iPhone will be a little bit bigger and a little bit faster. We can understand that, but you got to go back to like pre-phone. There was some entrepreneur who was like, no, we have an idea of a phone. Like it never existed. Maybe this might make it more easy. There was this like Popular Mechanics article from the year 1900. It was predictions for the year 2000. And it's kind of funny because it's all steampunky, like Jules Verne, kind of retarded. And it's like firefighters will have leather wings and they'll be able to fly up apartment buildings and put up. You're like, that's fucking. And it's like you'll have screens with tubes full of mirrors that will bounce your face through the tubes so your friend can look at you. And you're like, oh fuck. And it's like students will all put a helmet on with a wire that goes to the center of the classroom where they have a big like wood chipper, and you'll throw books in and just you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
Everyone will have their own hot air balloon and they will travel en masse. And you're like, okay. But then you start to look at it and you go, well, what are the actual concepts that they're saying? Forget the mechanism, but the concept.
Yeah, I was about to say they're talking about some interesting concepts in that.
Well, what are the concepts? Fighting fire from the air.
Yeah.
They were wrong with the leather wings. What about a 747 dropping fire retardant material?
Right.
They were wrong with the tubes full of mirrors. What are you and I doing right now? Talking in real time.
Right.
Do they put the books in the wood chippers? No. But I have an audio book library with 1,000 books that I can listen to anything, anytime.
Right.
Okay. Does everyone have a hot air balloon? No. Do they have personal transport? A car? They sure do. What about personal air transport? Some people own their own planes, but no, most of us can go buy a ticket and get on a plane. So you can fly through the air economically. They weren't wrong. They're wrong in how it happens, because by definition, those things weren't invented. There wasn't a microchip and a silicon transistors and shit. They didn't have that.
Yeah,
So,
they had a known function. They just didn't have the form yet.
correct.
Yeah.
So how do we get out of this? I think, and I think you think, that it will be an awakening of a critical mass of people understanding what's going on. What form does that take? No, I don't think it's going to be some French Revolution or January 6th on steroids. But there will be a novel either invention or a crack in the facade of the monolith that will shock all. I mean, it could be a new technology. I don't know what it could just be that some people get on a rocket and just go to Mars and said, fuck it, going somewhere else. I don't know. I mean, 3 months ago, the idea of the Twitter files was unimaginable.
Right.
That someone would take over and start publishing emails from the FBI. What? Best case scenario. Yeah. Stop dreaming, dude. Put down the opium. But it's here. And it went from novel to just, they're on like part 15 now. So quickly, we have just gone, fuck it. Like, so what is March 2023 hold?
Right.
I mean, by that logic, a year from now, we should be talking and being like, yeah, we had no idea that Elon Musk and Donald Trump were going to buy YouTube and then publish everything. And, and it was going to lead to a church committee investigating big tech.
Well, so what are your thoughts on this new like church committee that they're basically standing up now? You know, is that a show trial, or are they going to be like limited hangout? Yes, these guys are doing this.
I don't know, but the very idea that anyone would hold anyone's feet to anything closely resembling a fire, even just a year ago, it seemed absurd. Like, it's going to manifest in new ways that I can't possibly understand. Like, how are they finding that Biden was having, classified documents off? I think they probably always knew that, and this is probably their way to take them out now. It's probably they're replacing him with someone else. So that's maybe not a good example. It's going to, and again, it's a bullshit answer, because it's what it's really saying is
right.
Oh, you can't understand it. Well, that's just cheap writing, right?
Yeah. One of the things that has concerned me, I guess, over the past year or so is analyzing the ham-handed nature of a lot of the shit going on right now. Like the WEF just operating openly, right?
Yeah.
Aaron and I have talked about this a bit. Normally, the only time you operate openly is when you have assessed the risk and you've already lined up contingencies enough to cover, anything that's going to blow up in your face, right? So if we're going to attack this village in broad daylight, we've assessed the risk that it's, less risky than doing it at night. We've already locked on medevacs. We've already locked on fire support. We've already locked on, different maneuver elements to cover possible, enemy reinforcement ingress or routes. And so now at a certain time, call it 2020 or whatever for them. Like we've decided that we're going to step off on this plan, and it's going to have to be in the clear. We're going to walk across this desert to this spot, and we're just going to have to deal with whatever they send after us. Right. So part of me assesses what's going on is that they've reached, or we call it set conditions. You know, they've set conditions through all their think tanks and CFRs and working groups. They feel like they've identified enough of the little hidden landmines that they can move forward. But another thing I'm kind of noticing that's kind of sneaking around in the narrative is it's clearly the devil worshippers, or whatever you want to call them, the weirdos, the blue hairs, they really are in the minority. Like if you look around and you're honest with yourself, no matter how much that shit gets pumped up, like they really are in the minority.
Yes.
So one of the things I'm kind of hearing in the narrative sphere is that the powers that be know that the pendulum is going to swing back to the right. There's only so many drag queen story hours you can have before, honest men and women are like, no, this isn't going to fucking happen anymore. So I'm curious to see if there is a big shift, and if there is a big shift, like how organic is that, and how was the big shift planned for? And now that there's new animal farms, new echo chambers, like new catching features, right? That like, oh yeah, these guys were evil all the time, and now this is the new catching feature where we're just going to okay the extreme right to start like lynching these fucking people. Is it like, I'm a little concerned about that. Like are we witnessing a pendulum swing that is organic, or are we witnessing a plan? Because inside their working groups, they're
brilliant.
Yeah, they would be remiss, to say the least, to be like, look, there's actual people out there, like Dale, who are pretty serious. And if you push these guys far enough, they're going to push back. So they have to be considering catching features and counter moves to when the normies are like, hey, look, fuck it. Like, we're not doing this anymore. I mean, even if that's, what Aren and I've decided, which is break contact, which is, the catching feature for us would have to be pretty obvious. Like, oh, you're not allowed to burn wood in your wood stove anymore. You're like, okay, man.
We'll be physically coming to your house and saying you're coming with us.
Yeah.
Because that's the end.
So what do you think about that as far as a controlled swing back to, I mean, because the Catholic Church, man, is like a owned fucking, allegedly that's God, you know what I'm saying? But like
bought and paid for.
Right. There's a statue of Moloch over there. Like,
yeah, no, complete. And that is kind of the funny thing, is when you reach like the end of just thousands of hours of audiobooks and documentaries, you just throw around these things so nonchalantly. They're just like, yeah. So the demon pedophiles that took down the World Trade Center, and people are like, then you have people that like still believe the dollar's backed by gold, and you're like, we gotta start way back. I'm speaking a new language to you. I'll answer that in a second. I gotta go pee. I do this every episode. I'll be back in a minute. Tell everybody where to find y'all's podcast website.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we did get banned off of YouTube, but you can find us over there on, we're dropping clips on Instagram. Our full episodes are on Patreon. You can find clips on Rumble, BitChute, Minds. We're scattering the clips pretty much around the rest of the social media, but the main site that we're holding it on right now is Patreon. Until long term, we'll be, create our own website and try to control our content like that. A lot of the bigger interviews, I guess bigger for us, that we've done, like we recently did Ryan Christian from The Last American Vagabond. That's for free on Patreon. So if you head over there, you don't have to, pay our $3 a month to listen to it. The bigger stuff on there is for free. But yeah, that's about where we're hanging all of our stuff. We did start up a new YouTube channel. It's called VSP Strange Presents. So like Victor Sierra Papa Space Strange Presents. We haven't hung anything on there besides like a preview video, and basically the plan for that is, understanding YouTube's algorithms and who owns fucking YouTube. Our long-term plan there is just to hang the things that we're doing here on the farm to promote resiliency and self-dependency, right? Like alternative power systems. I'm super geeked out over the potential of bringing back the fucking steam engine. Different water stoves for hot water, and just the ability to use organic fuels that we have a pretty much infinite supply of here on a 52-acre farm. Basically highlight things like that.
Yeah, so a couple of answers to what you said. I think to go back to I'm sorry, trying to get this blanket right. Yeah, I guess the analogy I always use, which is weird because I don't understand sports at all, but I always use a sports analogy, is like going for it on like 4th down.
Yeah.
Like normally you don't do that. You punt or you go for the field goal, especially. And if you are going for the 4th down, you don't take the prime VIP MVP quarterback and tell him to rush it and he's going to break his leg. Like you just don't do that.
Right.
Unless, of course, it's the last seconds of the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. It's worth it. Go for it. Break your leg. This is the goal of the entire career, is to win. Maybe you have to sit all next season out. Go for it. Get the gold. So on one hand, you go for it. You sort of step out of the traditional pattern of being more conservative and playing the long game. We got a game next week and next week and next week, or we got 3 more quarters of this game, whatever. And you go for it, right? So that's kind of desperation. We see the goal. We have no other options. It's go time. So there's one side. The other side is we're up by 80 points. Yeah, let's try a trick play.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Who cares? We're up by 80 points. There's 10 seconds left. Yeah, let's try a trick play. Who gives a shit? So there's 2 reasons.
Yeah.
You're either desperate or you're like, yeah, fuck it. We're up by so much. Put it in the 3rd string. Go for it. Who cares if he fumbles? So there's 2 ways to look at this. They're desperate. The plan has been that they've been meticulously planning out for the last century and a half. They're now realizing some unforeseen things, like I thought social media would be this ubiquitous. We didn't see Bitcoin. Who would have thought Elon Musk would just say, fuck it and buy Twitter? Like, these are all things that we didn't know. We never planned on Trump getting in there. Like, so kind of got to do a sloppy COVID thing. We were hoping to wait till 2030 to do it. And that's why it's kind of rushed and it's kind of butchered. And like, they didn't even really fully carry it out. They're all just dropping mandates now. It could be that they're sloppy because they're going, drop everything, run for it, run for the end zone, just fucking go for it. Or it could be it's so game, set, match. Yeah, fuck it, pull the mask off now.
You're familiar with Albert Pike. Albert Pike is the 33rd degree Mason, former Confederate general. These are all things that are in the narrative, right? Like, I don't personally know whether he actually wrote this, but allegedly there's writings from Albert Pike to I forgot the guy's first name, but Manzini of the Illuminati, basically putting out like, hey, this is the way that we can get to this control that we're looking for. And the writings basically spell out you gain control through 3 world wars, and it's written in the 1800s. I think it might be, it's either in Morals and Dogma, written by Albert Pike, or it's just some other essay that he sent to Manzini. But essentially what it clearly points out World War I and World War II. Like, you can look at it like, the fascists are going to be used to destroy the communists, etc. Well, what it says about World War III is that they're going to unleash the nihilists and the it's not the devil worshippers, it's like nihilists and something else. And you can clearly see that in going back to Drag Queen Story Hour, right? Like, it's basically unleashing the dregs of humanity for that to be the instigator of the normies rising up and fucking crushing all of them. Because one of the things that always happens, your communist revolutions, however it happens, is a lot of the initial instigators, your rabble rousers, they get rounded up and killed with everybody else. Because it's clear to the new communist regime that, these were all the troublemakers that we used. So we know they're troublemakers.
First ones against the wall.
Right. So Stalin rounds them up and fucking kills them. So I'm also kind of curious as to if we're just playing along to that already scripted out timeline where we're in the time where they're going to show you that these pawns that they've been using, your basically crime families, Clintons, Bidens, call it whatever you want. When you're a pawn, you don't get to choose when you get sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm curious if that's the stage of the game we're in, right? If we're in Albert Pike's third paragraph where they're pulling the mask off of the devil worshippers, the nihilists, I forgot who it was. It was specifically nihilists and then something else. It might've been, it was nihilists and atheists.
Yeah.
We're like, look, if you're normalizing pedophilia, like you're a nihilist. I mean, that's all there is to it.
That's
right?
that's the perversion of innocence. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a little curious as to if that's the direction. Because I really like your analogy about the puzzle pieces, and that's kind of the way I do things now. Is I used to get really energetic whenever I would find a new puzzle piece, like, oh shit, look at this, and but now I just kind of like grab it, like you said, look at it, I set it off to the side because I'm not quite sure where it fits yet. It is clearly a piece, but how does it actually snap into the rest of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Like the using of these people to take society to a brink where everybody knows, like even Rome fell once Caligula and all those dudes start, making the horse the fucking high priest, like at a certain point, people come in and they're like, yeah, fuck this. We're not doing this anymore. Yeah.
So kind of like the puzzle thing is when you start putting all the pieces together and you can start to vaguely see that it's a rectangle.
Yeah.
It's still important to finish it, but part of it's like, I know what it is. It's clearly a rectangle with an image in it.
Yeah.
Like that, and there's like your meta, like, okay, so what are they doing? Yeah, World War I was right, abolishing the monarchies. World War II
creating the League of Nations, which we skipped out of somehow.
Yeah. World War II was kind of coalescing all the power into really two main groups, right?
Yeah.
Soviet communist bloc, America, Marshall Plan, NATO. World War III is the mistake is saying it's going to be nuclear. Nobody wins the game if it's nuclear.
Yeah, no.
They, as Tim Dillon, the comedian, says, despite wanting world control, these people still like, eating caviar out of pussies on yachts. Like they don't want to flip. You want to run the table. You don't want to flip the table. Nobody wins. Game's over. So it's not nuclear war. Releasing the atheists I hadn't heard of that, but that's actually, it kind of makes me think of the rug pull theory. Have you heard that about?
No, what is that one?
World Economic Forum. So the rug pull theory is that you do all the COVID shit, blah, 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 right? And then it's safe and effective, but everyone's doing it and whatever. And then what we're seeing right now, what I think I'm involved with in interviewing these doctors is actually planned. You start to show that, look at all these cases of myocarditis, strokes, and Guillain-Barré, and everyone's dying, and all-cause mortality is up 40%, and a 10% increase is a 1 in 200-year event. What everyone would then conclude is we can't trust these government institutions, FDA, CDC. They've all been bought through and through. All these things are so fucking corrupt. And then a new power comes in and goes, fuck all those things. We need a new, stronger force. And it's what they are. And the idea of the rug pull theory is that everyone who helped perpetuate it thinks they're on the inside. Your Trudeau's, your Biden's, your Macron, all these world leaders think they're in the inner circle.
Right.
But there's an even more inner circle.
Yep.
And yeah, they are the Antifa, the BL, they are relative to the
at scale, that's who they are.
Yeah. It's correct.
Yeah.
They are the useful idiots that will get rounded up and get right. They're the first against the wall. You always are. Kent Clisby, former CIA agent, wrote a book, Willing Accomplices. And he would talk about how the KGB would send over, like, say 10 agents in the United States to start PSYOPs programs, and only 3 would be successful and 7 would get arrested or just whatever, defect and run to the countryside. You would take the 3 successful ones that set up these self-sufficient, self-replicating programs. You bring them back to Lubyanka prison to, award them. And then you'd shoot them all in the head because they're the ones most effective at setting up revolution.
Right. Yeah. You can't have those guys in your backyard.
So you got to remove them. Right.
Right.
And there's kind of just as an aside, there is like a self-limiting aspect then to totalitarian regimes is they will always prune themselves of everyone who can revolt against them, and thus they don't have a group cohesion. But that's another thing. The idea of the rug pull theory is that you have all these guys perpetuating it, and then your innermost sphere, which are probably names we don't even know. I mean, you know, a Klaus Schwab, Roth, yeah, sure, all the fucking, you know, your
if we know them, they're not.
They're not them.
They're
if
not
we know
them.
them, they're not them.
Yeah,
they did classified this. Well, then that's not the fucking classified thing.
Right. Yeah.
They just unveiled the B-21 Raider. Then that's not the thing. It's
right.
Fuck off. Right.
You're absolutely right.
By default, if we know it, we don't know it.
Right.
So the idea of rug pull is now you have all of these groups, and they're going to start getting betrayed, and we'll know whether or not there's any validity to it if we start to see it. You would see these world leaders start being, you know, resign. Like you said, they don't decide when they're sacrificed, and
right.
That might be what we're seeing. You know, they're finding all the classified documents that Biden had. I'm like, they're not just finding them. This isn't a win. They're deactivating him.
Yeah, I mean, the shit was in his car, in the garage.
Have been there. These were shaped charges planted on the road that are now being detonated because it is time.
Right.
As much as like the hopefulness in me sees Elon Musk, you know, publishing these Twitter files, and I'm like, that's not good. Like, that is undeniably not good, but to the power structure. Like, I don't really think there's a conspiracy there. And then I'm like, unless of course the higher goal is to, here's your erosion of the FBI. We'll know if we start to see Twitter files about the CDC, or if we start seeing like Facebook files.
Right.
We'll now know you can't trust these corporations. And it's just further and further inward betrayal of everything until you reach this hypercritical, like, black hole center that then, amongst the chaos of everything, offers order.
Yeah, that's the, what is it? Ordo, order out of chaos. Yeah.
That might be it. But it makes me think of like in the 80s or something. I think it was us. I think we were launching like a research satellite, or the Soviets were. And it was genuinely like no spook shit. It was actually just like a weather satellite. And they launched it, but it was on, I want to say it was the Soviets. We'll just say it was them. They put it on top of like a whatever the SS-18 or whatever the fucking their ICBM is.
Right.
Like our Titan 2. And they launched it. And we, like, NORAD went off, and like they woke up the president. Like, we contacted like the Kremlin, and they're like, it's like our space agent, it's Roscosmos, like it's a fucking whatever. And like our NASA scientists were like, yeah, no, they said they were going to do that. And we were watching it, and they start to go, regardless of what's in that thing, thermonuclear warhead or a satellite to look at rain, it's a nose cone on the top of an ICBM that is going on a ballistic trajectory over the horizon. And we decided not to initiate World War III, and it turned out to just be a weather satellite. But weather satellite or warhead, it looks the same. So like the football play, it's we got to go for the win or we're up by 90. There is both optimism and pessimism. Is it rug pull theory, or, as you have now enlightened me, is it unleashing the nihilists and the atheists? Or is this just the actual disintegration of the old guard? And like the rocket, we won't know until it's over, which is horrifying.
Yeah. So during my last deployment to Iraq, which was 2019, I was pretty much over doing anything like for my job, basically. So I would just figure out ways to like do benign sabotage. Like I was like, yeah, I'm not, whatever. I was like I already figured out everything was a scam. So I would just find other ways to do my time, so to speak. One of the things I stumbled upon was a book that the CIA had apparently classified. So it's a CIA. So who the hell knows? Like, as soon as you even stick your toe into their declassified waters, you got to take anything
it's all
from them with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
But one of them is called the Adam and Eve story. The book's called the Adam and Eve story. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard it. I've had that like bookmarked forever, meaning to read it.
So this leads.
Yeah.
So Aaron and I call these courses of action. Like what the hell are these people doing? Like, what is their course of action? Is it that they've they've got the end game and they're full steam ahead? Is it these things naturally kill themselves just because they are evil as fuck? But one of my courses of action is Aren and I worked, Aren still works in it, is we work with special access programs. So there really isn't anything above top secret. There's just caveats, right? So like
need to know.
Yeah, one of the caveats is special access required, SAR, special access programs,
ESI,
there's like
SCI, then ESI, TSSCI.
Like one of was it that David Greer dude? He's got that unacknowledged UFO special. Was it
Stephen Greer?
Stephen Greer, sorry.
Yeah.
I called him David Greer before. That's the comedian, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one of his things is he talks about like, all of the UFO technology is hidden inside private companies under special access.
Proprietary.
Yeah.
I'm balls deep in all that.
Which is how we hide shit. Like, you know, like Raytheon has the special access program to whatever they got, the
F-117 was special access program on Skunk Works.
B1s, B2s, actually grew up next to Skunk Works in Lancaster, California.
Oh, that's
so yeah, I used to see those things fly over all the time.
Yeah.
But so I guess where I was getting to that, back to the Adam and Eve story, is that, if there was, the Adam and Eve story deals with cyclical cataclysm, right? So, you've got your Younger Dryas, Graham Hancock cyclical cataclysm, where we pass through the Torrid Belt twice a year, and then you've got some other theories out there where, for whatever reason, call it simulation, like there are cyclical cataclysms, and you can go back through history and basically see where they've occurred. Charles Fort is a good author for this. His book is called the Book of the Damned, and what he's referring to as the damned is reported facts, observed phenomena that don't fit into the narrative of science. So no matter how well documented they are, they're considered damned information. Like, you'll never hear about it, right? Like
UFOs.
Like it rained, gelatinous red blobs over Sydney, Australia for like 3 days or some shit, right?
Yeah, but it can't be accounted for, so you just say fuck it.
Yeah, so they're just like the exclusionary worldview is like, we don't know what the hell that is. But so the Adam and Eve story, and I forgot, some of these things point to the area right around 2040 for the next cyclical cataclysm. And so it had me kind of bummed out after going down the rabbit hole and coming home. I'm like, well, shit, man, this place is going to get wrecked in my early 60s, though. I was kind of at least hoping to make it past when my dad died at like 65. But so to me, that's also one of the puzzle pieces that are just soaking off into the corner. I mean, you can look at like Deep Impact with Morgan Freeman. Like, there is nothing saying that our benevolent governments would tell us if something is going to fuck this place up, right? In that case, they didn't tell them the asteroid was coming, right?
Yeah.
So pole shift, a pole shift, mega volcano. I'm keeping that on the back burner, that within the, whatever the bad guys call their version of special access programs, like within the occulted knowledge,
within the Illuminati, the New World Order,
right? They would have books that didn't get burned. They would have histories that were written accurately, not from the side of the victor, right? Like, and so
actual understanding of what happened,
right? So my curiosity is are they aware of a cyclical cataclysm, and is that what's going on right now? If it is the Adam and Eve 2040 pole shift, are they just mass white noise jamming people with such ridiculous bullshit that we stay glued to these black mirrors instead of whatever? Because if somebody was to say like, hey man, pole shift 2040, like, it's game over. You got the next 17 years to figure out how you're going to make it past that, right? Like when Antarctica doesn't have a layer of ice on it anymore, and like some other countries, the new Antarctica or some shit. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I've always liked the idea of like whatever is like the center of power. They have an accurate record of history.
Yeah,
like
they had a hand in it.
Yeah, they're like, fuck the whole. You get in there, and it's almost like them telling you Santa's not real. They're like, yeah, no, that's all horseshit. Right?
I'm going to tell my son a different version of Iraq and Afghanistan than he's going to hear at school.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. They have the accurate Library of Alexandria shit. They have the thread of power, right? Again, it kind of comes down to the rocket with the weather satellite.
Yeah.
If there is nothing coming, it would look like white noise full of horseshit. If they know the cataclysm's coming, it'll look like white noise full of horseshit. And that, don't take that as a black pill. Take that as like, all we can do is work with what we have now. Again, it's a test. Make your art, make it like truly love this moment, because this moment is all there is. In 50 years, it'll still be now. I think Ram Dass said that. It's now.
Always now.
Yeah. It's now. Well, what about 10? What about next week? Well, set an alarm for next week and tell me about it then. When the alarm goes off, when is it? It's now. So philosophically, it's always now, but it would come down to, I imagine, some sort of hubris or ego. Because they're psychopaths and all they do is double down. They just, where you and I might be like, I'd rather die standing than live on my knees.
Yeah.
They're different in that I'm going to win. No, you're going to die. I'm going to win. It's almost kind of admirable. They're just going for it. Right. If they weren't such, Satanist pedophiles, it would be admirable. Right. But they're not athletes.
If we weren't the opposition, to be admirable.
Sure. Yeah. If we weren't in their sights, it'd be admirable. But like, it would come down to hubris and ego. Do they think they can survive the cat? If they have to depopulate the world, they'll do it. I would think they're probably doing it now. Continuity of government, nuclear bunkers, chain of command, succession. Like, they war game that. One of my favorite books, Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. It's the best book about continuity of government, from like EMP hardened structures to contingency on contingency on contingency plans.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Strangelove.
It's insane shit. I mean, one of the ones was like a 5-mile long cable that they would trail out of a plane and fly in circles. So it created a giant antenna in the atmosphere, and they'd be able to use that to still coordinate strikes in case everything had been taken. Planes on planes on planes on planes. But those are all things that they think they can still survive.
Yeah.
They might, kind of like the movie 2012. I would imagine they probably have built some sort of ark in case of like another younger dry ass where the ice caps get vaporized in a second. We are getting closer to being able to actually leave the world, and that's interesting, and that's never happened before, to our knowledge, has never happened before. And they might not even need to go off world. You might just need to create almost like an international space station on steroids and just wait out 10 years of whatever flooding. But then there are just like different levels of, it might truly be cataclysmic. Yeah. Where like you're not surviving. But what's interesting is I don't think they take that as an answer. Even if it meant only 5 of them survived and they had some like artificial stem cell womb to create new people out of, and they would take samples from everything, which is probably like what 23andMe is.
Right.
They would still try, which in a fucked up sense is, again, kind of admirable. So I guess I'm kind of shooting my own point down. I don't think there's any cataclysm that they would back down from. And I think no matter what it was, they would still go for it, which would include like white noise and shutting all of us up. And the idea of breakaway civilization, like I love that term. I think it's funny that it's like, no, we're going to go do our own breakaway on the farm. And then like the other idea is like, no, that's what all these black budgets are. That's what like the $6 trillion missing from the Pentagon is, the actual DOD budget is just 10% of what they're actually doing. Right. And that's right. Special access programs within special access programs, and they're on the other side of the fucking moon and solar ward and shit. And that might also be the case. But
well, Elon's got his boring company, which seems like just a boring company. Like it's not very exciting, but what it actually is he's digging.
He's digging. What I look at though is everything he's doing it can be transferred to Mars. You got to be under the surface because of solar radiation.
Yeah.
Boring company. You don't have cell towers on Mars. Well, you'd use Neuralink. You don't have gas over there. Well, you could use electric cars. You'd use SpaceX to get there. He's kind of setting everything up for a parallel civilization, and that might be what it is. Yeah. And in the meantime, World War III might not be for dominance of the world. It might be to just cause this to be complete chaos while they leave.
That could be it. Yeah. Cover
everyone against each other. Yeah. So like if they're getting closer to their plan, they might even let Trump win again. So we have this like because we might have this like false sense of we won. right? And if people start pulling their kids out of school and there's homeschooling and it goes back to like a gold backed dollar and like, oh, the right's winning, like they're not stupid. They're going to surf that wave. They're just going to take our side. They're going to start touting Christianity in America and American pie and baseball. Like they'll burn the left. They don't give a shit.
That's kind of where that's the course of action that I put the most.
That's what I would do.
That's
exactly what I would do. Yeah. Like, isn't there some company? Is it 3M, the duct tape company?
Yeah.
Like back in the 1800s or 19, I could be getting this wrong, but I read this article about like rapid and wild changes in companies that have been around for like 150 years. But there are so many cases of companies that like made leather shoes or hubcaps and they read the landscape. They liquidated the company, took all the assets. And there's literally like, I think 3M used to make like board games. And then they created duct tape. And there's even more wild ones of like corn farmers who that now produce like silicon wafers. They don't give a shit. The currency is power. So right now they're riding wokeism, and it seems like they're kind of riding it to the like as movies get on, like in sequels, and it's got to get crazier and crazier with more cameos. Like the wokeness is they've lost the whole idea of, well, maybe gays should be able to get married. Love is love. And now it's like, let me fuck your kid, bigot. And it's like, they've ridden this into the ground. And I think they're probably looking at conservatism as like, it's the new polarity.
Right.
The pendulum's coming. And to what you said earlier, is it organic or is it planned? I think it's organic, but they're going to like swimming with the riptide.
Yeah.
They're going to surf it. They're going to start coming out and being like, a strong church is a good moral of society, like a fabric of society. Like the nuclear family is important. They'd be like, all these all these things about wokeism and identity, that's just racism, like, rebranded, and they're going to burn the left. And then 50 years from now, they'll fucking start it again with neon hair. I think there's probably like a power structure so hidden that we don't know about, and they're just going to do them. And I don't think they can be stopped, but I think they're stuck in this physical world.
That's a lot of what I get back to is I think the theys that, you probably don't know the names if you dug hard enough of like the people that are one or two steps away from the theys, right?
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, goes back to occulted knowledge, right? I think I used to think that, nobody's figured out what's going on here and we're all just still trying to figure it out. But then lately I was like, well, given the length of human history, you're like, that's not possible. And you look at, we already talked about this crazy ass architecture and things where you can see cymatics carved into stone, and then you hit the pillar and it makes the same resonant frequency that like, cymatic is. And you're like, what the fuck?
You're like, dude.
So my new sort of line of thinking is that, the occulted, maestros of the symphony, if you want to call it, they have figured it out. And what it was figured out was that this place is the test that we spoke of earlier, and they have massive resentment, right? Like it's the old story, and it just gets repackaged in different stories, like the resentment of God, basically. So you look at transhumanism and all the way to just trans period. The underlying thought with that is that there is a flaw in the creation.
Yeah. So it's self-hatred.
It's self-hatred. Right. I'm not sure where I was going with that point. I've been blown up a lot. So
no, stuck in the physical world. They have mastered it. They have figured it all out.
And so that leads and drives like a lot of these games they're playing, right? Like there's I always chop the guy's name up, but it's like Sabotage Zevi. You familiar with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
It's like TSVI. Anyway, the guy in 1666 of all years was like this a Jewish dude who decided that he was the new Messiah and of Judaism. And the way the thinking basically was, in order for the creator to come back and set things right, things down here had to be so fucked up
bring it
that
back
he
to
has to
cosmos.
come back and set things right. Right. So these guys did the exact opposite of everything. Right. So if it was a fasting day, they would have a feast day. If it was a feast day, they would have a fasting day. Like everything within Judaism that they weren't supposed to do, that was what they did. And inside the literature, the narrative, I like just calling it the narrative, because any piece of information we find is basically hearsay. Like I wasn't there and I don't know the chain of custody of the document into antiquity. So it's just a puzzle piece. But according to the narrative, upwards of like half of like Judaism decided that this was a good idea. Like they were Sabbatai Zevi or Sabbatean Frankists, because this guy Jacob Frank is the guy that took over for that dude. So I believe it was the Ottomans that told this guy, hey, and I always like asking people about the Ottomans because like nobody understands, like in the earlier part of the 19th century, there was a whole nother empire that had like airplanes and shit called the Ottomans, you know, who just aren't around anymore. So I believe it was the Ottomans that was like, hey, check it out. You're going to convert to Islam or we're going to kill you. Like that's how things are going to work because we can't have all this wild shit you're up to. So he did what probably the Romans did and what everybody else throughout antiquity has done is like, oh yeah, cool. I'm a Muslim now. But it's basically, yeah, exactly. He's a crypto Muslim, right? He's not
wink and a nod.
Yeah. You wink and a nod and you're like, yeah, okay, cool.
Whatever.
Yeah. So that's one of the other like fascinating narrative threads that I think is commonly overlooked. Like what the fuck happened to all these people? Like it's almost like the paperclip thing. Like through the paperclip, we have our Operation Paperclip. We have a loose kind of idea of the numbers of these people. We know some of them. You know, your Warner von Braun's and your Galen, whoever took over the West German. Yeah, the West German intelligentsia. You know, like we don't have an Operation Paperclip for these Sabbatean Frankists. You know, like where the fuck did they go?
Probably by design. Probably by design. There's no record.
Right.
I think, I mean, if we're going into like antiquity of power structures, yeah, just like there's the BLM and Antifa useful idiots, and then with rug pull, it's like no, the Bidens, the Clintons, Trumps are all. You'd have to go one step further and be like, oh, America is just the current useful idiot, and before this, it was like the British Empire, and that's been going on. So we're getting to this like core group of people that have been running the show since the pyramids.
Well, it's actually interesting. You know, sources point to that perhaps the Phoenicians were getting the copper to like fuel the Bronze Age from America, right? And if you look at like there's a whole bunch of mined copper around here that isn't here anymore, and then over in Europe, there's not enough copper apparently. Like I've been down so many rabbit holes, it's hard to like succinctly point these things out anymore. But and if you look at the American flag, it looks like the white and red striped sails of the Phoenicians, you know, which yeah, I mean, it's if you turn it the other way, that looks like a Phoenician sail, you know.
Yeah.
And Aaron and I were kind of talking about this. You know, after World War I, you think that, you know, we moved from the pound sterling, from the world currency to the American dollar. And essentially all that really was doing was taking the military base out of Great Britain and putting it in this unassailable fortress, which is America, right?
Surrounded with two mountain ranges on either side with two oceans.
Oceans.
No,
right? We're like
I've come to that conclusion too. Like, no, they just moved headquarters here.
Yeah. Like this is, and it goes along with those with the city states, right? Like City of London, District of Columbia, these places, the Vatican, these places that are like extra governmental to the places that they live in, right? I mean, that's basically one of my theories, is that this is the continuation of Rome. Like Rome never fell; it just rebrands itself. And one of the things that kind of tipped me off to that in the early rabbit hole searches was the Roman fasci. So essentially, you look at the you know, when you see the Speaker of the House chilling up there, on
the bundle, the sticks,
bundle of sticks, right?
Yeah, it's on Lincoln's memorial, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. His hands are resting on two of them.
Yeah.
And you just start looking at this on the dime. You just start looking around for this
And you're
shit.
like, oh,
You're
dude,
like, you look at the architecture of DC and you're just like,
oh, it's a fucking pentagram. You're like, oh, Jesus, God.
I mean, there's an obelisk and a Vesica Pisces, and I'm like, come on, man. Like,
but
and you say that to a normal person, and they'll just vapor.
We can't even say it to normal people. You just have to be like, you have to just be like, oh yeah, no, I watched the game too. You don't even broach it. Just cherish those friendships for what they are. Don't try to play video. That's what I play video games, whatever. I don't need to talk about like, the fucking great turning of whatever. Yeah, I'll play. But yeah, I mean, I think that there probably is. I mean, then you could go even one step further, and not just America being the useful idiots. We could go back to like these cataclysms. How the fuck do we not know that there isn't like an off-world intelligence, or they're, burrowed in the earth and they're just watching these cataclysms go? And that's an even higher order of power. Like, no, your whole civilization is just a pawn of ours. Like, so you come to the conclusion then that like, and then who runs them? Are they aliens? Are they grays? Are they interdimensional demons? Like, ultimately what it comes back to is like, there is this realm that we're in, this reality. And I think in order to get out of it, there's no weapon system or amount of power or computing power. Like, it doesn't matter what you do in your dream. You can invent the cure to cancer in your dream, but once you wake up, it's gone. It doesn't matter what you accomplish. You can wake up from your dream, still in your dream. It's only when you actually wake up that you're ever outside of it. So it is an all-encompassing system that it's a bubble that is impenetrable. And I think that, I mean, kind of like biblical parable, like it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to go into heaven. I think that is like, this is their realm. They've owned it, they've run it, acknowledge it for what it is. They're demons, but game respect game. They're probably running this shit. They've probably had this figured out since, who knows? I mean, they could be in control for tens of thousands of years, and America is just but a blip on their radar. But I think they're anchored in this reality, and they can become transhuman. They can upload themselves to supercomputers the size of planets and become hyper deities, and they could, create magnetic wormholes, and like, sure, they'll run the board. I don't think they can pass through the eye of the needle. I think to do that, you have to do something that is totally counterintuitive. It's against the aggregation of power and self-preservation. And instead it's going, I'm still going to try to do the right thing, no matter how futile it is.
Are you familiar with that old movie War Games?
Is that the
Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
Basically,
exactly. No. What a fascinating game. The only way to win is not to play.
That's it. That's what I came to.
That's it. Yeah. And then you have to go, well, I'm still here, so there's a reason why I'm here. And you don't have to play. I think is it the Christ quote? I'm be in the world, not of the world. Like we're here in these avatars.
Well, in your studying, when you were going down that, like hyper science route, was there much talk about the fact that when you electron microscope, I've used an electron microscope to look at explosives to test different desensitizing agents against them and whatnot. When you microscope down far enough, this is vibratory light. There is no matter, like nothing matters because there is no matter.
No.
Like, did you ever run into that during your studies? Did people talk about that?
No, there's like a ceiling or I guess you could say the opposite. There's like a floor people hit, and then you realize it's all scientific materialism. I think probably the seeds of my indestruction were sowed when I had like the highest grade in my physiology class, and I was like talking to the professor one day, and I was like, yeah, but where does consciousness reside? Because even if you add electrodes here and protein there, but where do you get the sensation of, and I just remember him smiling and saying, that's
the hard problem.
He goes, not versus the easy problem. Yeah. And then that's a rabbit hole of a rabbit hole. And he just kind of smiled and he goes, that's not science, that's biology, and like winked, almost kind of like I think he understood it for like, this is all just like a really intricate biology and medicine is just like a really intricate Rubik's cube. And if it's what you like doing, do it. And if you want to help people that way, do it. But like you're not getting to the crux of the core of the universe here. So when you bring up those things, and then like what is it? Fuck is that, like not translocation? Has something like
I know what you're
no,
saying. It's
the supersymmetry, where it's things could be moving in the same at the same time, and then
superposition.
Superposition, yeah.
Yeah.
Like electron entanglement, where there's instantaneous movement, and then the observer problem, where it's like a wave and a particle, depending on how you look at it. No, once you get to the very bottom, and like that's when you realize the dollar's not backed by gold, is once you get to the very bottom of quantum mechanics, you
Right,
go,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
none of it. I think Terence McKenna said, he goes, get to the bottom and you realize all the contradictions run together and there's just nothing means anything. You're like, wait, what? The whole thing's horseshit? No. You get to that in like the hyper science and people look at you and they're like, is that on the test? And you're like, oh, no one. You're like, isn't it weird how it's all just like hyper vibrating molecules of strings and energy, and like below Planck space there's nothing, but there's in an absence of space there's infinite energy, and a Boltzmann brain says that in a large enough universe consciousness will arise naturally. And they're like, I don't think that's on the test. And you're like, oh, we're not. Okay. No one. Because what happened when you get to the bottom is it's you have to face the answer that it's not science, it's fucking magic.
Yeah.
And like a video game where you like Grand Theft Auto, it's a huge map. You fly to the edge of the map and like the vehicle stops working, the plane blows up. It's because the point of the game isn't to find the edge of the map, it's to play the game. You can look out to the farthest background radiation of the universe or down to the smallest Planck particle vibrating. It's like, yeah, you can keep going forever. That's not the point, though. The point is you're here to do something. And I think our thing is to just do good. That's as much as I've understood after 32 years. I'm like, I think it's to do good regardless of whether or not the good comes back.
I'll agree with you, man. Because I'll tell you one of my psychedelic trips. So I came back from my last Iraq tour, and I was ready for like the big reveal, right? So I laid down, ate 6 grams of mushrooms.
5 grams. What is it? 5 dried grams in silent darkness.
Yeah. Well, they were in chocolate, so I couldn't, like, there was no way to divvy up 5.
Yeah.
They were like 1.5 grams per. So I was like, well, fuck it. 6 is just as good as 5. Right. And so, yeah, who knows at what point this epiphany came, but I was in the beginning, or I was in the first portion of it as much as I can understand the time, where I was just seeing, your spiral fractal colors kind of thing. And I remember, making the thought, vocalizing to the medicine, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, that's very beautiful, but I'm not here for that. Like, I'm not here for a light show. I want to know something. So I'm looking for gnosis, I guess. So what is, the stupid question, what is the purpose? Right. And so like my mindscape just kind of like shifted to where it almost seemed like I was laying on the ground. Like I was on like a forest floor, looking up past all these massive trees. And I was looking at like the sky clock. Right. And it was like that weird kind of exposure where you can see all the stars, but it's still kind of like a bluish kind of purplish kind of thing. Like one of those impossible camera shots kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
And as it was turning, it slowly just stopped. And the message that came was that we've been looking at this for a billion years. Like I remember hearing the term billion in my head. Right. And I don't know if I brought that like info in there with me or what. Yeah. Like, but they said the purpose, so the only purpose we've discovered is to be amazed by it. And it was like so shockingly simple,
just sit and wonder,
like, just look at it. Like,
yeah, stop talking about power structures.
Yeah. It's and really another thing you were talking about earlier, I think plays a lot into it, is game theory. Like, how do you keep people away from just staring at the beauty of it and like reveling in the beauty and the joy of this experience with all its tragedy and love and everything?
Light pollution.
How do you keep them yanking the fucking slot machine handle? How do you, like, oh, hey, we're going to give you a good guy this time. And so just come back and vote one more time. It's
one more hit.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that helped me finally walk away, man. It was just like it's game theory. It's it's hooking you one last time, like a one last slot machine by the door. You still got a quarter in your pocket. Like just get one more time, just,
I got pee again, but I'm going to answer that with my own psychedelic.
well, if you go,
experience.
I'm going to do the same thing.
All right. Well, anybody watching, just fast forward.
Hell yeah.
Fucking, I don't give a shit. Let me answer that. Yeah, whenever people get angry that I don't edit out piss breaks, I'm like, dude, the show's not live.
Well, hey, that way they know there's not any sort of like weird jump cuts or like,
That's the other thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's authenticity, like I mean,
it's real from the get.
I really do prefer long form podcasts, man. I mean,
yeah,
I think Rogan's probably a gatekeeper of some sort, but I mean, he really did bring out
where you can really flesh out thoughts.
Well, Aaron and I like this podcast called War Mode. You familiar with these guys?
I think I've heard the name.
It's like a couple construction workers up in Philly, I think. Isn't that where Kensington Avenue is, where all the fentanyl addicts and shit? I think. Anyway, so just a couple of construction worker dudes. It's just, the older of the two is, real geeked out on all the rabbit holes, and the younger guys, like late 20s, and he's just like kind of coming to the information in a newer fashion. But one of the things they spoke about earlier, and you've said you've had it, like just the thought stream constantly running in your head, is they mentioned people, apparently there's a study recently that some folks like have no internal monologue.
Yeah, that's insane.
You've heard of this?
Yeah,
I can't imagine. Heard of this before. Yeah, like I was new to this information. I'm like, well, what do you mean they don't have an internal monologue? Like I'm constantly brainstorming like problems, like
it's they just hard to. It's like
stimulus required. Like am hungry, need food. I don't.
Yeah, I can't. I've heard that before, and I can't wrap my head around it. And because I'm a narrow-minded asshole, I've just assumed that it's bullshit. Because like I can't. In like my deepest meditations, I've been meditating since 2008 daily. And only a handful of times have I ever hit like mindlessness. And it's a weird, you're not there. There's nothing there to experience. You're not thinking there's nothing. You dip into like the Godhead, like the ocean of being.
Yeah.
And it's pure bliss, but you're not there. Like whatever was there, experienced it. And wherever I am now, it's as alien to me as like, what did I do before this life? Well, I just remember like my earliest memory being like 3, and before there's just nothing. Maybe that just means there's a bunch of fucking Buddhas walking around and like they have no idea that like life is suffering. Like who knows? I don't know. But
yeah,
I don't.
I'm kind of hip to the fact that consciousness is probably a signal.
Yeah,
And
I don't think it's created by the brain.
No, somebody told, I saw something once, and once again, it's all these rabbit holes kind of run together, but that the brain, when looked at through specific, like from a specific angle, looks a bit like a microwave antenna. You know, and like the theory goes that, you know, if we're both wearing radios, I call you on the radio, or even these cell phones to use a, you know, like a better, like when we're talking to each other, or even this computer, you know, like when we sign off, I don't die.
No,
I'm just no longer being received by that train, by your side of the system, right?
Turn off
So
your car radio. The broadcast doesn't stop. You're just not listening anymore.
Yeah. So I almost wonder if there's like specific, you know, there's a Tommy broadcast, and whenever a being
Taps into it,
happens to meet the correct
like
receptive, like biology to be a Tommy, like that's what happens. And because this physiology is ever so slightly different than whatever, each iteration, you get the signal slightly attenuated, you know, like it's just a little bit different this time around, you know. Might have been another psychedelic thing where all I could see was like these like flashes of like weird decisions that I've made, and it was almost like a flip book. And the question that I came away from that was like, how many times have I fucking done this?
How many times have I run this program?
Yeah, like how many times, you know. And I almost think that might have been Nietzsche's or Nietzsche or whatever how the Germans pronounce it. I almost think one of his philosophies was you live the exact same life.
Yeah.
Almost like Groundhog Day. You can't get out of it until you perfect the iteration, you know?
Yeah.
And I think probably I'm 44 now. And I mean, that's really what it takes up not a lot of my time, but like whenever I'm like thinking now is like, okay, I've come to the realization that this is some kind of test, right? I'm like, you know, the root word for religion is religare, which means to regulate, right? It's just like a regulation program, right?
The governor.
So yeah, I consider myself, you know, the generic term of spiritual, right? I've accepted that. The only sense this place makes is that it was some kind of a fucking design, because you're like, okay, well the tree drops leaves that become soil, but the tree needs soil. So how did the leaf you know, you get into that old thought loop of like chicken and egg kind of shit, right? And the only thing I can come up with after thinking about it for a while is like, okay, this is some sort of a design. And it was interesting. You're talking about the, like now, there is only now, right? And in Pythagoras, to Pythagoras, the number 4 represented time. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm like, how they came up with that. But in the Fibonacci sequence, there is no number 4, right? It goes 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. So basically to point out that time is an illusion, right? It's simply something that they're all like the measurements that we use to mark decay, right? When we call it time. I mean, that's kind of the other like weird theory that I think about up here is like each life is almost like, you know, you pluck a string on an instrument, and there's like, you're talking about from 18 down is you're dying, right? So that string gets plucked, and of course the sine wave is extraordinarily strong, and then it slowly just like resonates back to the base, right? You know, so are we all just resonating back to you know, whatever the base ether signal, you know, the unmaterial material that we all come from, you know, the weird musings of the bomb guy on the mountain.
That will be your book. But like, no, it's for me, I always kind of do use like the video game thing where whenever I'm playing like Ace Combat or something, whenever there's like a new game, I always just immediately go vertical. I just want to see what the ceiling is of the game.
Yeah, how far can you get before it stalls this thing out?
Like, yeah, you're like, oh fuck yeah, 60,000 feet. You're like, hell yeah, and then like whatever. But you're establishing like what the parameters are.
Yeah.
Even with like, so we look at like how big is it? Background radiation, multiverse, And then you go down to how small is it, and it's Planck space, like, or quantum foam. And then there's the other dimension, time. How far does it go? Is it just
Yeah.
repeating? Then you've now power structures. Is it Democrats or Republicans, or is it a military industrial complex, or is it America, or is it entire civilizations, or is it alien grays controlling it? Or okay, but now
Yeah.
you've established power structures go on forever, and within them there are states and cities and groups and companies and families and people, and then within your own mind you have power structures of which one do you give more energy to, and okay,
Anger, sadness.
yeah.
Like,
Drunk Tommy, you can have like a couple days a month, but the majority of them has to be working Tommy, right? And then like within
Right.
working Tommy, I'm doing podcast Tommy now, and like so you have all these things of just these infinite loops, and I don't think you can like ever find the bottom or the top. It just goes forever. And I think being here now, it is that psychedelic experience of be in awe. I think it was Alan Watts said. He goes, look out at the night sky. You see the stars. Those are just fireworks of the universe expressing total joy for existing. And it just is. Just look, watch the Swiss watch, the planets and the stars and the clouds and the tide and the baby calf and the old cow and the birds and the leaves falling in the winter, and then the new leaves and the longer days, and the grandma dies and the new baby's born. And it's just these waves of just almost like a I think Duncan Trussell said he was like a dolphin jumps out of the ocean, does like a flip and goes back into the ocean. Like I look at like the world
for a split second, it's in another world.
Yeah, for a split, and that's what's the point of the flip? The bliss of being a conscious entity that exists flipping. Don't look at it any more than that. So when I look at the world, I almost see the physical world of just like we are almost like wisps of smoke coming off of a fire. It's like we're just animals coming out of the dirt and nitrogen and proteins and water, and then we're shitting and pissing and fucking and coming and laughing, and then go back down, and then that happens over generations, and then that happens over civilizations, and like where they're conscious entities before us, and it's just all this flowing. And to try to pinpoint any one of them, it doesn't mean don't observe them. Like sure, revel in the majesty of it all, and if you enjoy it, try to get to the bottom of it. If you like understanding fucking the leading edge of an F-22 and that's your joy, go for it, whatever. But you're not going to find the answer. It just goes forever. And even above the idea of, well, I think we're here to be tested, I think you can even go beyond that. And we're looking at it trying to make sense of the evil and saying there's a test. But even now, we're still not enjoying now. We're saying we're being tested. So when we become angels or gods, even now we're stuck in the idea of it's coming. The good thing's coming.
Yeah.
That's not now. It is.
It's that retirement mindset.
We're right there. We're just, once I become an angel and then the old world collapses and I leave this physical world, and it's like, now I'm just like the homeless guy screaming on a sidewalk that the cops are being called on because I'm screaming about angels and fucking dolphins. All right. But to the psychedelics, when I was on like my highest high, I've done psychedelics like 5 times, once a year in 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever. And I did like 1.25 grams of acid. And like, I think I ate like 11 or 12 grams of mushrooms with it. And like
big white noise type time.
Gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. And I remember at like the peak, or whatever I could recall as being the peak, it was the realization that it's all just like systems flowing. You're never going to fix or break it. It's not broken. It doesn't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
There's no point in trying to understand all of it because you can't. And even if you did, there's no answer to it. It was just now, like the ever flowing now. And I just remember thinking, you choose love or you choose fear, and then that's your reality. And there's nothing more than that. You are at the very base of it all. I am, and it is now. You cannot boil it down more than that.
Yeah.
Everything else, even right now, Aaron's not here. I think Aaron's real. I think I talked to him. You
Yeah.
know him.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Right.
Did the universe start right now? And I don't have 1,000 episodes, and you were never in the military. We both
Right.
have our own shared delusions. We have no proof that any of that was real.
Right.
We don't know that we're not just accessing fake shit in our minds currently. That we
I can't
think,
reach back and touch it or hold.
where is he?
Yeah. Where's
you
it
see
at?
Aaron?
Yeah.
I think we saw an Aaron. I don't know.
We have a construct of what we think he's might be doing.
Yeah.
No real way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a 9/11? Did I grow up? Am I actually 32? Do I have parents? I don't see them.
Right.
I think I have a little brother, but I don't. Where's my older brother? I think
Right.
I did go to college. Where's the college, Tommy? I'm in a room. Like it's
Right.
so, but then you got to extrapolate that further. And then like, well, then is there a future? Well, what future? You're imagining things, you're imagining ideas, but you're imagining them now, here and now.
Yeah.
You're accessing, much like you'd access like I don't know, like an old film reel, and you can look at like the individual squares in it. Like you can look at it and go, oh, that happened. You're looking at it here and now. And I think it was Alan Watts that said, you have to change your perception of time to it's not like a rocket pushing the present forward, but rather the present is a ship and the past is the wake trailing off from now.
Yeah.
So at the time we were creating Aren, but now that's not now anymore. And so, and then even there, you have to go back into, well, did that even happen? Or right now, are we creating a memory of Aren?
Yeah.
You're accessing it now. And well, when's now? Now's now.
Yeah. It's like the old Spaceballs joke.
Yeah. Which one?
When they pull out the VHS tape.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Spaceballs the movie. We'll just
Oh,
we'll just put it in and figure out where they went. And he fast forwards too far and they're in now. And like Darth Helmet's like, the fuck am I looking at?
Oh yeah.
And the guy's like, you're looking at now.
Jehovah
Everything's happening now is happening right now. It's like, well, when's it going to be then? Now.
Then it will be now.
Yeah, then it'll be now. Well, did I miss it? Just now. Or when did I miss it? Just now. Like,
but yeah, the kids love the flamethrower, but like deeply, it's
right.
now. And then like that's the core of everything is
yeah.
And when you get there, you can, and that doesn't make light of actual physical suffering, but it allows you to look at things and like your experience looking out at the night sky is to just stand in awe. I think it was Ram Dass said he was like with his guru in India in like the 60s. And it's like, there's the anti-war movement in the United States, there's Vietnam, and the Chinese are fucking doing this, and there's all these poor people in India and all this disease, and we got to go help them. He's talking to his guru, Neem Karoli Baba, and he goes, Ram Dass, don't you see how perfect it all is? And he's like, what are you talking about? There's like kids that can't afford cataract surgery and they don't have running water, and there's war, and there's coffee, and there's people with all this money that aren't helping it. And he goes, don't you see how perfect it all is?
Yeah.
And it took me decades, long after my guru died, to look at it all and realize how perfect it all is. And so like looking at like the deep state, dark, nefarious demons, you see it as just an unfolding of law. Without them, would we be striving to actually be better?
Well, how can you be a protagonist without an antagonist?
One of my acid trips, actually, it dawned on me. I was like when you get initiated in the fraternity and the guys you fucking hated the most come up to you and they're like, dude, you're in. And you're like, I want to put a bullet in your face. And they're like, nah, dude. And they're like, they're like, Bob's actually the one that gave Tommy the pledge bid. Like, I was like, I thought you hated me. They're like, no, actually, Bob's like your biggest fan. And then like when I was a brother and I'd be hazing these guys, you'd be, when all the pledges would
You're
leave.
harder on the ones you like. You're like,
yeah, you'd be laughing with your friends. You'd be like, dude, I hate hazing them because like they're actually cool. Like they're funny. There's a reason we gave them a bid. And then they get initiated and you go up to them and they'd almost hold back from you. You're like, dude, it was all bullshit. You're actually cool. And like
that's,
a lot of them had
boot camp in a nutshell.
Yeah, a lot of them had a hard time like talking to me. They're like, it's Tommy though. It's fucking Tom. I'm like, no, dude, I'm a teddy bear. Like it was all horseshit. but the harder you are in them, the more they enjoy the initiation, the more blissful the awakening is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But when I was
like
on
mystery religion shit right there.
Well, when I was on acid one time, I was just laying in bed. Same thing. I was looking at the night sky, and I just had this realization, like, I was like, it's like Hillary Clinton and like the Vatican and like fucking Dick Cheney. Are they just the most awakened people? And when we awaken, like they're all there laughing, like you woke up, and you're like,
That is a theory.
It's not it's not impossible, and it's
one of the puzzle pieces, right? Like
we think about it, we go, well, that can't be true. Everything else is, loving and spiritual, but no, they're demons. Like, no, that would be the ultimate twist ending, is if you got to the other side and you see like Hitler laughing, and he's like, you made it, and you're like, Adolf fucking Hitler, and they're like, oh yeah, dude, this is like the archangel, like, and you're like, what? Like,
he's like, I did my best to fool you and I didn't do it. Good job.
Yeah. No, like I have that idea of like, when I die, I see my brother. And he's like, yeah, you would have never like gone out on this like trek of self-realization had I not killed. And I'm like, huh? And he's like,
that's synchronicity, man.
Yeah.
I told I got some other bomb guys that have a podcast, buddies, called Heat, Shock, and Friction. It's on like Apple iTunes or whatever. And on one of their shows, I was really banged up about one of those guys that got killed next to me in combat. I was a young kid, right? And I say young kid, I think I was 27 at the time, which probably made him like, 21 or something.
Sure.
And that was the epiphany I had with those guys. Is like, what if, and he was one of those guys that always lit the room up when you come in, like just a charismatic individual where you can't miss the guy. There's lots of great people walking around, but like this guy right here, it's like, oh shit, there's that guy, So when they get snatched away at that super fast, it just fucks with you, and like I'd been in a pretty gnarly firefight with him a couple like weeks prior to him getting killed, we're like, oh, hey, we made it, we're alive still, so it was, and then he gets snatched away. So he's like, what the fuck? But then it came, ayahuasca helped me figure this one out. Is that was the epiphany that I got then, was that what if that these beings were of such an enlightened nature that they knew you couldn't grow without the pain that they were going to help, right? So, back when we were getting ready to come down and play this video game, his name was Travis, whatever Travis was called at that higher echelon, was like, check this out, guys, I'm gonna get smoked when I'm 21. And then that's going to help you guys. It's
gonna fuck with y'all.
Like, I've already played this game 15 times, right? So I don't need to go through the whole 80 years, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in, burn it down at 20, and you guys are going to see me get snatched away, and that's going to help you like get through it,
Oh no, it's one of the times I was on acid, I had this realization that like my older brother, it's like whenever you see a guy like pick up a fumble and he's running for like the touchdown, and then you see those like big O linemen just like throw like a crazy block and they fall out of the screen and the guy goes and gets the touchdown.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that guy just got snatched away. I'm like, what is like the ultimate big brother move? Like my other older brother, he would like beat the shit out of any bully I ever had. He was just jacked guy. And like, that's the older brother looking out for you, right?
Yeah.
But then my oldest brother, I'm like, what's
he's like the seatbelt older brother.
Yeah. No, yeah. He's the muscle. But then like, it's like the ultimate older brother move. And it's just like liberating us all. And like all three of all remaining brothers have talked about, it's the worst thing that ever happened. And if I could undo it, I'd undo it. That being said, I can't undo it. And it's the best thing that's ever happened. Now, it's been almost 10 years, so I can say that now.
Yeah, you got time and distance. Yeah.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And Dr. Eben Alexander, he's this Harvard neurosurgeon who's this super scientific materialist. And he fell into a coma in like 2008 or something. He was in a coma for 8 days. His brain was like full of pus. And they're like, he's a 1 in a trillion chance. No, he's dead. And then he came back like perfectly fine. And he experienced heaven. And he wrote a book called Proof of Heaven. It's like a bestseller book. He's a fucking cool guy. I've had him on here. And he's gone down just his entire, I don't think he's even done psychedelics, but he's more, you see like the glow in his eye. You're like, oh, this guy he's there. And he has another book called, I think it's Living in a Mindful Universe. But he talks about life planning, and not in some like, here's your 401k. No, he talks about prior to this life. Not only did that guy tell you like, hey dude, 21, I'm going to get smoked and you're going to grow. No, but you were also there.
Yeah.
You were like, that's a good idea. He wanted to do it at 25. And you're like, what if we did it at 21? And he's like, cool, that'll be a car accident. And then, no, you were involved. You're like, no, how about we're in the Marines? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I like that twist because this will cause that. And you're like, oh, okay. And you actually plan it out. No different than like, we're going to go to the gym. I'm going to try to do a set of 11. I might not get it. And I need you to spot me. You're like, I got you. You're going to be there pushing me to get me, right?
I'm going to feel like I can't do it, but your fingers.
You can fucking do it. Come on, man. Just give me a little. And you're like,
yeah.
Why do we do that? We don't yell at the bench press. You don't go to the gym and go, these fucking weights are heavy. They're heavy so you can grow with resistance. And then the second it gets easier, you bump up the weights. So I think that we've probably done this life before. And right now we're going for a personal best. We're going, can we awaken
up the weights?
Yeah. Can we awaken a little more? And it's like, dude, I got an idea. You're going to do the whole thing, get into medical school, blah, 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 blah. But we're going to fucking dial it up to hard. I'm going to kill myself right after. Oh, dude, what would you do? Now, you might kill yourself after because of your own depression, in which case we'll have to dial it back next time. But if you get through it.
Yeah, we'll have to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah. But then you have to start to get to these points of like, and then they might not even know. They might be starting to look at it like dividing by 0. They'll be like, I wonder what would even happen then. Like, do you want to try that strategy? Like, dude, let's fucking try it. Like, we've been doing it for eons. There is no time. We've been here forever. Yeah. You might be like, oh, that's true. So like you and I spoke in this prior life. We're like, all right, dude. So I'm going to wait till I'm like 32. And then you and I are going to do this like podcast together. Like, okay. And this might just be one little, might not be like that life-changing. It might just be like a little piece, but like, there are these things moving and that might be all it is just like a game to awake. We're all pushing each other in the gym to get stronger. We're all trying to awaken even because once you've awoken to the highest level and then you're all just gods, you're gonna be like, well, let's turn this party up a little bit. Like, let's try to get even more awake.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Yeah. Why not? Let's try it. Like, what else would you do if you had? I guess we'll wrap up with I just realized we've been going for 2.5 hours, but like we'll wrap up with this one of my favorite things by Alan Watts.
I know where you're going with it, and I love it. Go ahead.
Oh fuck, God, you're stealing my thunder.
No, I'm not gonna say nothing. I just want to hear you say it because I love it.
Yeah, the what if God?
What would you do?
Yeah, what if God got bored? And so for everyone that hasn't heard, because Cody just stole my thunder and ruined the entire podcast. Fuck it. So it's. I think I can almost quote it. It's, I wonder what you would do if you could dream any dream you wanted to dream every night. And 8 hours of subjective time would be 80 years of living. At first, you would experience all your pleasures, all your sex, all your food, all your drugs. Then you'd experience fame and fortune. And then you'd experience danger, being an operator, being a fucking go rescue princesses from dragons. And then you would start to do scarier and scarier things, like fighting great battles. And then you would add a new wrinkle, and it's to start forgetting just a little bit of your powers, to forget that you were dreaming. And then, like kids daring each other, every iteration after, you would forget a little more and a little more. And it would be so great when you woke up because you'd be so anxious and so scared of death. And then you'd wake up and you're like, oh my God, and you could experience being a god for the first time. And eventually you would keep pushing and pushing and pushing, forgetting more and more of your powers until finally you would dream where you are now, sitting in this room, living the life you're living, thinking it's all real, pretending you're not God. What else? What would you do if you truly could do everything 1 trillion raised to the trillionth power times?
This would have to be one of them.
I don't know what you would do, but this would be pretty hardcore. A World Economic Forum taking over the world and a technocratic satanic elite. This is a pretty like hardcore movie.
Yeah. This is
the movie where the credits roll and you go, woo! Like, oh, dude, that was enough for me. Like, if I got to go to the bathroom, like,
it's awesome that you have that thing almost memorized because that was the speech. It was embedded in some nice slow music, but that was the speech that led me to Alan Watts. In fact, I found out who he was.
That was the first thing I ever found out Alan Watts.
Okay, yeah. I typed that into Google and it's like, oh, that's Alan Watts. And I was like off to the races, man. Like
it was like a month before I ever did. It was right when I was waking up to the idea that I didn't want to be a doctor. That was the first thing. Yeah, no, it's set to music.
Yeah.
We probably watched the same video.
It was the band or whatever it was like NU. It was like New Ages or whatever. It was
Oh
like
no, yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah.
New Ages,
and it has like a girl wearing a cloak or something on the
yeah,
thumbnail. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I
And I
wonder.
heard that and I was just like, holy shit, that's the fucking way it works.
No, but it's almost
Like-
like a fucking MK Ultra like activation signal. Like I remember when I first.
Maybe that's a
Yeah, no, it's like
dynamite way to
someone
say
in
it.
it's like someone in a hood and there's like a lake or something.
Yeah.
And it's like in a far and deep down
Deep down.
that you are the fabric and structure of existence itself.
Yeah,
And then,
black
like,
implies white, life implies
yeah,
death.
black implies white implies black.
You know, he loses me a little bit on moral relativism, but I almost say that like Alan Watts, that voice he has is like the father that I wish I would have had. You know, like I wish my dad would have sat me down and just told me Alan Watts.
Just sit you down on his knee and just, I wonder what you would do.
Yeah.
And then like the truth is still the truth. And I don't know if you learn more about Alan Watts, but he was like a raging alcoholic and a terrible father. And then you find that out. And you're like, wait, he's a piece of shit? Truth is still the truth.
Hey, I mean, none of us are heroes, man.
No,
It's like
I'm
I told
not.
that to a buddy of mine, you know, like, yeah.
That might have been his pyramid. That might have been his art. Maybe he was a piece of shit. Who am I to cast judgment? But he left that thing that we have both clearly discovered and it has changed our lives. How is that not
for the better?
Yeah. No, that is, I fucking haven't heard the New Ages. Yeah. It almost is like some weird activation signal. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, I'd never heard of Alan Watts.
Yeah, me neither.
I just remember it was just like, it's like hearing a name that you used to have or something. And you're like, what the fuck? I haven't heard of that in forever. And you're like, oh. And I had this feeling of like, oh, I've woken up before.
Yeah.
It's just this, I couldn't quite see it. Like I couldn't see the puzzle, but I just had this slight, like, I've done that. And it's still very like foggy, but it's like, oh, not only have I done this, but this is like the best ride ever.
Yeah.
Like, like, oh, it's all going to shit. Yeah, no. It's supposed to. Like,
yeah, it's fine though.
it's all good. It's like, but the world again. No, class. No, you'll grow to love class. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're like, huh? Like, yeah, no. Just
I know we're wrapping it up, but I say that to people all the time. I mean, like, you know, what part of that
we can keep chatting. I don't
like
know.
what part of that old system are you trying to save? No, I think that's a great place to end it. That's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So
yeah,
so I asked that to people, like, what part of that old system are you trying to save? You know, the starving starving DoorDash driver who can't afford to eat the thing that he's bringing to you. You know, like it's all pretty subjugating and, you know, pretty not life celebratory, you know. But you know, from dissolution comes you know, something better, you know. The acorn has to fall off the tree to hit the ground to grow into the oak, you know. And the acorn doesn't know when it's plummeting, doesn't know when it's surrounded by dirt and being cracked open, it doesn't know it's germinating.
No,
you know, and
thinks it's dying, it thinks it's getting crushed,
thinks it's dying, you know. And then it gets battered by wind and hail for seasons and seasons,
and it drowns in rain and
and then finally it's 70 feet tall and it's fucking dropping acorns, man. I mean, it's and
the acorns are falling terrified and it's just sitting there like smiling, like, no, you're
like, don't worry, you'll be back.
You're good. Yeah. And then the dirt smiling at the tree going, oh, you have no idea you're getting burned down tomorrow.
It's just like the mycelium told me there's a forest fire.
Yeah, right. And it goes on forever and ever, and everything is like just another iteration of another one. And it is.
And Marcus Aurelius would say, if that's how it happens, how is it not good? Stoicism, you know.
Whatever is happening is clearly the thing that is happening, and it's
the
one that is to be. It just, again, like, gravity is not for or against you.
Yeah.
It just is. And like, not only is like the tree, like watching the acorn, like lovingly detached, but if the tree's there for millennia, it might even kind of get bored and go, I might just wipe my memory and be an acorn.
Yeah. Why not
It's
follow this one down? See what? Yeah.
okay,
Try it again.
fuck it, why not? And then it goes
Yeah.
like, oh, I've never seen that. That acorn got caught by a squirrel. Fuck is that? Like, I've never
If I
even
drop
seen
it in the river, I could get further down and get a better
Yeah.
view for the next 1,000 years. Like,
And what's over there? I've never
Yeah.
even seen that shit. And then just when it thinks it's like this wise old tree, yeah, it gets carried in a river and then it lands on like a ship. And it's like, what the fuck is this? And it's the Mayflower. And then it's like, what are these? And it's never seen a human before. And it's like,
Right.
oh, dude, there's a whole other game going on. There's this kingdom of old British people with bad teeth. And then there are these crazy peasants with wigs and muskets. And they're like 1776 faggots. And you're like, I don't even know what this is. And
Right.
you're like, I thought the tree was the whole thing. Right. And it just goes on. And the second you ever start to like, you're like, I've got it figured out. I've got it figured out. Fucking blindsided. And it's just a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess to really wrap all the way back to what you said earlier about like dipping your pinky toe in. That's what I mean by like, I don't know the mechanism, but I think it's all going to be just fine. Like, I don't know. It could be a lot of suffering. Hey, it could be a lot of suffering. It could be fucking the World Economic Forum might make the Nazis look like Boy Scouts. There might be a worldwide Holocaust that make Auschwitz look like a daycare. It could just be beyond our wildest nightmares. But at the other end, there will be something and then another thing. And it will just go forever and ever and ever. Fuck
Yeah.
life. Or not, or it could all be fucked and there's no meaning to any of it. That too. Like, that's the other thing is like, hey man, you might wake up and realize like you're the only one awake. You're like, where's God? And there's no one there to answer you. And you're like, oh, I think that was Alan Watts too. You wake up and realize you're God, and you're really embarrassed because you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah. You're like, well, it must be time to forget again because this is boring. Like,
you might come into just like the ultimate of 50th dimension of being, and you're like, oh, this is gay.
Yeah. This is, yeah. Because what would you do? That's why I think
yeah, you might be like, it was scary, but man, COVID was kind of interesting. Fuck it, I'm going back. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I say we end it with there. That was
cool, man. Awesome,
dude. Beautiful crescendo. And then, dude, if you guys want like any of the people, go through my library and pick out whoever you want, and there's like a 90% chance I'll be able to put you. If I can't get you someone, it's because that's someone that also doesn't talk to me anymore. So like,
no, you got to be those.
Yeah, but dude, go. I mean, seriously, Delta Force, CIA ground branch guys, continuity of government, nuclear targeting, nuclear submarines, B-2 Spirit pilots, like fucking everything. I mean, everything.
All right, man. Awesome. Yeah.
Israeli mercenaries, like whatever you want, go through. If you guys see something that tickles your fancy, let me know and I'll put you in touch with them, or not. I don't give a shit either, but whatever. Whenever I talk to someone who also has a podcast, I just kind of extend that as like, my library is yours.
I really appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, and come over and hang out with us. We'll talk about all kind of. Well, we cover a lot of crazy shit here, so we're not going to cover anything wild, man. But we got a buddy that does some pretty former action guys news on YouTube. He's a Marine, does a lot of the same thing, does mainly military stuff, but we've extended him the invitation to come on over and talk wild ass conspiracy theories that he doesn't talk on his side, but I mean, I really enjoyed this talk, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude, this was fun as fuck. Yeah. And I think I stood by my word when I told you beforehand, there's truly nothing that we can and can't talk about.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's refreshing, it's refreshing to have like no holds barred conversations, because how the fuck are we going to figure this thing out, man?
Yeah.
Well, let's steer clear of that. Let's really try to focus on the Speaker of the House, because I think that Kevin McCarthy, I'm like,
they're pedophiles eating children on an island praising Moloch, but maybe there's a god in the form of a computer or an acorn. Like, you got to just rip it. You got to go full homeless guy screaming at the sky.
At least once. Just try it out.
Yeah, just try it out. And if it's not for you, whatever. But yeah, dude, it'll be up. This is a long one, so Zoom's gonna take a minute to process it, but I'll upload it tonight and I'll send it to you and Aren, and if Aren exists, we don't know if he exists. We might have cracked the matrix there, but
Right.
yeah, dude, go through the library, find anyone you want. I could probably get them to you. And
Awesome, man. Thank you.
I'd love to do your show, man. That would be fun as fuck.
All right, cool, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, buddy. God bless everybody.